Super Dimension Interview. The opening interview with Thanos. Chapter 51. The comment area immediately became lively. Orochimaru and some other research-oriented ninjas began to discuss new topics of ninjutsu with the Wisdom Star gods and scientists from other universes. Terumi Mizukage. The guests this time are very different. I have never seen such polite guests. In the past, I would start fighting with the host as soon as I got started, to see how polite he was, and treat the host to tea. Thanos. A man came to your house for no reason and wanted to interview you. You would have wanted to beat him up. Convex. Iron Man. Haha, isn't it because you have something secret in your mind? He has been investigating Wanda's background for the past 2 days, and after finding out, he became emo. He also roughly guessed why Wanda wanted to kill him. It was the weapons he provided that killed Wanda's family. Even he didn't know how to reach reconciliation with Wanda. The only good news is that they got the Mind Stone. He is not going to use the Mind Stone to create a super robot 07 according to the future trajectory, but secretly throw it into the sun. The rocket is almost ready. A native of the motherland. It's you fool again. The one wearing glasses, be careful. This host is really bad. In the past few days, he had fought several battles with the super team led by Butcher. Although he won, he was also panicked. After all, compound number 24 can create an endless supply of superpowers. Who knows if there are any superpowers who can awaken more powerful abilities. After all, the Butcher's awakening ability is not much worse than him. Kurosaki Ichigo, can I talk up here? Soul Society's technology is so advanced. Orihime Inoue. Ichigo, are you okay? That's great. Rukia Kuchiki. Ah. Can I talk here? Ichigo, go away, this matter has nothing to do with you. Commander Yamamoto Genryusai, is it true? What kind of person are you? What's the point of all this fanfare? Jingraku Shunsui. This thing seems a bit fun. Nirvana. Funny. You really don't understand anything. Hirako Mako. Aizen, you hypocritical guy. Is this another trick you pulled off? Matsumoto Rangaku. That's amazing, I can also speak. Pingzi, you traitor is still alive. Hirako Mako. I am not a traitor. You really don't understand anything. Be careful with Aizen. Hinamori Dao. Who are you? He has been slandering Captain Aizen. King of Angels Kesha. I hope this person won't be as annoying as the last one. Tsunade. If there is such a person again, I will never watch it again. Uchiha Madara. The host actually brought a weapon. Hey, if I read it correctly, these are ordinary wood chips and bamboo, right? After scanning the language theory in the comment area, Yibai smiled and said, indeed, these are ordinary wood chips and bamboo chips. This is not a weapon, just a decoration. Who would bring such things for decoration? Do you think we are fools? Aizen looked at the comment area and asked curiously, excuse me, who are these people? Yibai said, they are the audience of this universe and other universes. Other universes, audiences. Aizen shook his head and laughed, although I have already made a bold guess about your identity, it is still beyond my imagination. Are you actually a distinguished guest from another universe? Yibai nodded, picked up the tea, and drank it in one gulp. He was not afraid of Aizen poisoning, because he was invincible during the interview, and nothing could hurt him. Not only was he invincible, but also his clothes and decorations are all invincible, otherwise he would have been burned to pieces by the people of the motherland during the last interview. The scene would have been too eye-catching. Yibai put down the teacup and said with a smile, unexpectedly, Lan. Captain Ran's tea art is so exquisite. Aizen also smiled and said, after all, I have lived a long time and learned a little bit of everything. I also know a little bit about the tea ceremony. But Mr. Yibai, I am very curious, why do you want to interview me? Yibai said, let me first introduce this world to my friends from other universes. This place is Soul Society, where souls go after death. In this world, some souls after death will degenerate into a kind of resentful soul called virtual, and they will harm the world. People like Mr. Aizen are called Shinigami. Some of them are the original inhabitants of Soul Society, and some are transformed from the souls of the dead. They are responsible for purifying the void and allowing the void to return to reincarnation. That's roughly it. Then Yibai looked at Aizen. As for why I'm interviewing Mr. Aizen, it's because Aizen is the most wonderful person in the world. In terms of strength, even if you face Yhwach later and your body is restrained and your eyes, hands and feet are sealed, you can still suppress the flow of the Spirit King's power and control Yhwach with your spiritual pressure. In terms of wisdom, you have long seen the nature of this world, and you have seen that the nobles who have nothing to do with corpses in Soul Society are a group of insects. This group of rotten guys cannot govern Soul Society well. Even your technology is far ahead of its time. Aizen was slightly stunned. He finally understood what the people of the motherland meant by those words. It seemed that the host knew a lot, and he put himself on the fire as soon as he came up, but he was mentally prepared for this. He laughed said, "You said in the future. You mean you can see the future?" Yi Bai nodded and said, "Just do it." At this time, the comment area has exploded. Captain of the United States, 430 inches. Hey, this Mr. Aizen seems to be a changer. People of the motherland. See it, see it. He is going to expose you as soon as he comes up. If I were you, I would kill him right away. The last time he knelt down to listen to Yi Bai's interview, he also wanted to see others kneel down. Butcher. Why did the host expose you? Tell me once what you have done. King of Angels Kesha, the dead souls, and the indigenous people living in the world of dead souls. It is another world that is completely incomprehensible. The differences between different universes are really huge. Uchiha Madara. Our world also has a kingdom of dead souls, and there are gods of death, but they seem to be completely different from these gods of death. Captain Genryusai Yamamoto. Wait a minute, did you say Yhwach before? Has he broken free of the seal in the future? When? Zaraki Kenpachi. I thought you were very respectful to these nobles, Aizen, but it turns out that you have already disliked them, haha. Yi Bai just said that Aizen is unhappy with the nobles, but that's nothing. There are many unhappy nobles in the Soul Society. Aizen's eyes moved slightly. In the future, he was restrained and his eyes, hands and feet were sealed. In this state, he treated his comrades Habak. He had seen Yhwach's name in the Great Spirit Book corridor. Why was he fighting against Yhwach in this state? Otherwise, who could restrain me in this world? Aizen asked. Although the host is here to interview me, can I ask some questions? Yi Bai liked the guest who was so cooperative and proactive. He nodded and said, yes, as long as I know. Aizen asked, what is it like outside the world? What is it like in other universes? His eyes contained endless curiosity and expectation. This world is too cramped for him, and he is too curious about what other worlds are like. Yi Bai said, the world the audience lives in is also different. Like this native, the world they live in is similar to the real world of this world. In their world, a special drug was invented that gave them superpowers. Yi Bai showed off the superpowers of the people of the motherland, and then said, the universe where the King of Angels, Ms. Kesha, lives, the civilization there is a little more advanced. Zhe Xiaolun appeared on the screen. He was facing the Teoti King howling, issuing an order instructions one by one. Activate anti-void. Create void defensive barriers, add anti-void capabilities, define primary matter, rewrite advanced concepts, modify the surrounding area of the howl to an absolute vacuum, and block any energy flow. The target is trying to understand the void barrier, creating an infinite logical loop, and suppressing the target's thinking. The target uses bioenergy to resist, counter bioenergy, crush concepts, and solve the target material structure. 10%, 60%, 100%. After a lot of talking, the big sword fell directly, cutting the bite into a pile of slag. The final ruling is completed, restoring the concept to its natural state. Define the possibility of surviving a howl as 0. What kind of fighting method is this? This scene confused everyone, including Kesha. Yi Bai explained, this seems very simple, just use a sword to chop people into ashes. But in fact, this man named Zhe Xiaolun redefined all concepts of Shiho, modified his material and energy structure, and completely eliminated him diaresis. In the universe where Queen Keisha lives, they started to play with concepts. If one day, they could erase everything and create everything from the concept. At that time, there is no difference between them and the creator god. In the universe where the star gods live, the star gods are also a collection of concepts, philosophical concepts. Just like Aha, the star god of joy, he can be seen as the embodiment of the philosophical concept of joy. The lives in that universe are not even lives. As long as their behavior conforms to a certain philosophical concept, they will gain part of the power of the corresponding star god. In the world where Iron Man lives, there is a treasure that can manipulate the basic elements of the universe called the Infinity Stones. In Magneto's world, there are mutants and the Phoenix Force. The Phoenix Force is the most original power at the beginning of the universe. It can modify everything at the level of basic particles. It is not impossible to destroy the universe and create the universe. In the world of ninjas, they use the power of chakra to destroy the world. While talking, Yi-Bai also showed pictures of people from several worlds using their power. The comment area immediately became lively. Iron Man, Queen Kesha, you are so advanced. Who is that man? King of Angels Kesha. I don't know, it's like a void engine. Someone actually developed the void engine to this point. It's probably the future. What happened? Professor Hang, after all, she was raised like a daughter by him, and she died like that in the end. Orochimaru. Modify the concept. Does it mean that if you are a human being, I modify your concept and say that you are a pile of sand, and then you become a pile of sand? Yi-Bai looked at the comment area and picked some comment to reply. It's roughly what Orochimaru said. Uchiha Madara. Can it still be like this? Yi-Bai said. This also requires huge energy support, just like Queen Kessa. She a treasure trove of sacred knowledge, but it uses countless stars to provide energy for her. Zaraki Kenpachi. Isn't this kind of power a bit too much? In his impression, fighting is just a sword fight, how can it become a verbal attack? Confronted. Yi-Bai smiled and said, don't your Zanpakutos also have various abilities? Don't they also control certain laws to a certain extent? Captain Genryusai Yamamoto said, Shikai and Swastika. That's not all. If we can go further, I'm afraid we can get into the realm of concepts and laws. At this time, Lan Ran, who was sitting opposite Yi-Bai, his eyes widened. That's it. That's it. The world is so big and wonderful. Mr. Yi-Bai, if you want to ask anything, just ask. He finally understood that what he did was right. Fusion of Bengyu was correct. Bengyu reflects the mind of the holder, which is also a modification of the law. But now it seems that Bengyu is not the only choice. Yi-Baiwen Road. Open corner bracket. When did you start to feel like you were out of tune with the world? Aizen couldn't help but push up his glasses and said, are you out of tune with this world? It turns out that my state is like this, and you actually know me so well. When I find that I am getting stronger and no one can keep up with me, I feel very lonely and no one can understand me. And I still have to obey the corrupt rules of Soul Society and obey the destiny of the people. But those insect-like nobles, even if they break the laws of the Soul Society cannot be used to punish them. Yi-Bai said, what did you want to do at that time? Aizen. About that time, I wanted to change this rotten world. I don't want to be so constrained, and I don't want to let those incompetent people stand on top. Zhao, seeing this, the captain of the 7th Division, Komamura Zojun, murmured, so you hate those people so much. In fact, there are many people in the 13th Division who are dissatisfied with the nobles. What Aizen said now is just a little outrageous, not too much. Yi-Bai said. Then what did you do? Aizen said. I collected souls to create Bengyoku, and then framed Urahara Kazuki, in order to get his other broken jade. I used Hiriko Mako and others to conduct experiments, trying to break the boundaries of the God of Death, make the God of Death virtual, or make the God of Death virtual. As soon as these words came out, Yi-Bai was a little surprised, so honest. Lan Ran shook his head and said, I have a hunch that if I lie in front of you, the consequences will be very terrible. Yeah, you actually sensed my truth or dare. Or was it just a gut feeling that something was wrong? And upon hearing this, Soul Society exploded. Aizen. Yamamoto Genryusai let out a low roar, and the air in the entire Soul Society seemed to become scorching in an instant. The next moment he disappeared, and Chojiro immediately followed and ran towards the 5th Division. Aizen committed the crime. Yamamoto Genryusai knew every one of the cases, but he didn't know the truth was like this. He had been deceived by Aizen for so long. And Aizen actually dared to tell everyone this openly. He was provoking himself and the entire Jinglingting. How could he endure it? At the same time, Sui Feng gritted his teeth and said, Aizen, you did it. The reason why Shifenjin Yoruichi betrayed Seraiti back then was to save Yuramoto Kazuki. Now she knows that Yuramoto Kazuki was wrongly accused and everything was Aizen's conspiracy. In other words, it was Aizen. It caused Saifeng Yuan Yei to betray Jingalingting. I'm going to kill you, Aizen. The next moment, Zaiho also disappeared with Omaeda. Not just the two of them, most of the captains were angered by Aizen's record and ran towards the 5th team's team building. Soon, they were hit by powerful spiritual pressure, except for Ichimaru Jin, Tosen Konami, Nirvana who was staying at the technology patent office trying to crack the live broadcast room, the seriously ill Yukitaki Jashiro, Yunohana Retsu and Kuchiki Byakuya did not come, just because they wanted to. Fighting with Aizen, after all, the host boasted that Aizen was so strong. Who would have thought that even the total 290 captain would come? Katetsu Yongan asked Yunohana Retsu why he didn't come, and Sister Hana said, Aizen dares to do this. Say, you must know the consequences. I'm worried about what backup he has, so let's just keep him as a reserve team. As for Kuchiki Hakuyu, he probably had the same idea. Several powerful spiritual pressures fell, and the entire 5th Division team building collapsed, revealing Aizen's room. Yibai and Aizen were facing each other under the coffee table in the corridor. Sitting down, both of them looked relaxed, as if they didn't care. Sanbon Genryusai said, Aizen, you traitor, get out of here. Aizen pushed up his glasses. Why don't you, Captain Yamamoto, try to come in? He has tried it before, with Yibai as the center and a distance of about 20 meters, surrounded by an invisible barrier. Although he has not tried it with all his strength, but after a small try, he feels that he may not be able to break it. Since Yibai, if he dares to interview himself in such a high-profile manner and knows so well what he has done, then Yibai must also know what he may face. This allows Captain Yamamoto to try the power of this super-dimensional host and see what he relies on. As soon as Yibai saw this scene, he immediately cast a screen to broadcast it live so that other viewers could see it, and also introduced the captains to them. Hinamori Momo looked at Aizen with tears in his eyes. How is that possible? How could Captain Aizen do such a thing? Did that man force you to say it? It must be yes. Captain, it must be that man who forced Captain Aizen. Yamamoto Genryusai glanced at Hitsugaya Toshiro. Take Hinamori down first and let her calm down. Then he used Shunpo, trying to catch Aizen directly. He was really worried about letting others do it. Because Yibai said before that Aizen would be able to suppress Yuwatch in the future. Aizen must be relying on someone who dares to challenge the entire Soul Society so boldly. He must have hidden his strength. The next moment, he stopped in front of the live broadcast room. He raised his eyebrows, pressed his palm on the barrier of the live broadcast room, felt for a while, and then pulled out his Zanpakuto. Jingraku Shunshui was startled. Teacher, why don't you let me come? It would be too dangerous if the Ryurin Ruahua was opened. Yamamoto Genryusai said, you can't break this thing. Everything will turn into ashes, and the blade will flow like fire. The next moment, a ball of flame ignited on the Zanpakuto. The strongest Zanpakuto of the fire system, the flowing blade like fire, was released again after an unknown number of years. Even many vice captains couldn't bear the terrifying heat wave and retreated. Then Yamamoto Genryusai slashed with all his strength with one sword. The terrifying heat wave spread everywhere, all debris on the ground was burned to fly ash, and even the ground had a tendency to dissolve. Boom! There was a loud noise that resounded throughout the world, and the barrier in the live broadcast room remained motionless. Kyoraku Shunsui was stunned. How is that possible? All the captains who knew the power of the captain's Zanpaku were horrified. They couldn't imagine that anything in this world could withstand the full force of the captain's blow. Not only did it not move at all, but there was not even the slightest scorch mark. Yamamoto Genryusai said, he is indeed a visitor from other universes, a strong man who can travel through the universe at will. He felt that to break this, unless he used swastika. But is it really necessary to go to this point? He thought for a moment, and it really happened. This weird host actually protected Aizen, so he must have some agenda. If he continued to hesitate like this, Aizen might have a chance to escape. Using the swastika residual fire sword, You only need to break this barrier, and it will not cause too much damage to Soul Society. At this moment, Yi Bai said, Old man, it won't happen, it won't happen. I'm just doing an interview. You don't have to pull out the residual fire knife. The tip of the knife is close to the temperature inside the sun. Even Soul Society may be evaporated by you. This is a bit scary. Yamamoto. Genryusai glared at Yi Bai fiercely. You really want to protect Aizen? Yi Bai sighed. I'm just the host. I just try to restore the true nature of the guests and let all the audience get to know the guests. Yamamoto Genryusai snorted coldly. In that case, let Aizen be released. After my interview is over, you can use Aizen to make barbecued pork. By saying all this, aren't you just trying to protect Aizen? Or, you are already colluding with Aizen. What conspiracy do you have? After saying that, Yamamoto Genryusai wanted to swastika. Yi Bai sighed, this guy is as stubborn as a stone. Then a sharpened bamboo sword flew out from his waist, and it flew out in one go. Breaking the barrier of the live broadcast room, he slashed towards Yamamoto Genryusai. Although the flying sword seemed very powerful, the attack was slow and weak, and it was just ordinary bamboo. Strength against me. Who do you look down on? However, the next moment, he suddenly threw away the flow of fire and let it return to the form of an ordinary Zanpakuto. Yi Bai flew out the bamboo sword. Seeing this scene, the captains were shocked. Kyoryu Shunsui reacted very quickly. The Zanpakuto appeared in his hand and immediately slashed at Yi Bai's bamboo sword, but it was also useless. It's a pity that Yi Bai can't attack the opponent with one sword like Li Jing, so he carries so many swords. He controlled it with his mind and shared the invincibility of his body. At this moment, the entire Soul Society was in deathly silence. That was Captain Yamamoto. The purple golden beam that holds the sea and the white jade pillar that holds the sky in the Soul Society, the most powerful god of death in history. How humiliating it is to be oppressed by an ordinary bamboo sword. All the Grim Reapers drew their knives. Yamamoto Genryusai's face turned red. He had endless power, but it seemed that he was completely suppressed by this light sword and could not use it at all. I can only hold the sword in this humiliating posture. Aizen's pupils shrank when he saw this scene. Fortunately, he had not taken action against Yi Bai before, otherwise he would be the one kneeling on the ground. It makes no sense at all. This move obviously has no power at all. Zaraki Kenpachi was even more furious. How dare you humiliate the captain like this? Then he wanted to release his blindfold. The other captains and the god of death also wanted to fight Yi Bai just like this. At this time, another wooden sword flew over. Zaraki Kenpachi threw away the Zanpakuto in his hand, knelt on the ground and stretched out his hands, holding the wooden sword firmly in his hands. It's like he's holding some rare treasure same. Kenpachi was so angry that he almost went crazy. You might as well kill me like this. If you dare, kill me. The captain was like this, and so was Kenpachi. This made the other captains who wanted to free the Zanpakuto hesitate. They were not afraid of death or humiliation, but they wanted to find a way to crack Yi Bai's devilish thing. Yi Bai sighed. I'm really just a host and a reporter. As long as you don't disturb my interview, I can do anything. I've never had a fight with anyone, but you guys always come to push me and don't listen to what they say. Jingroku Shunsui frowned and said, maybe it's his sword. He doesn't have that many swords. At this time, Captain Yamamoto finally said, don't take any action, you can't break this barrier. Visitor from another world, you are really strong, but you humiliate me so much that I will never stop fighting with you. Yi Bai couldn't help but rub his eyebrows. He still wants to come to this world to play in the future. From the looks of it, if he doesn't have the strength to challenge the entire Soul Society, it's better not to come. The comment area also became lively. The activity level was directly marked at 50%. People from the motherland, ha ha ha, finally someone is kneeling like me. Captain of the United States, this guy is still crazy. By the way, you are still alive. I thought you would commit suicide after what happened. Did you destroy that world? Butcher Billy Butcher, destroy it. He's just a lost dog now. Iron Man, the host said that the old man can make the temperature of his sword tip reach the high temperature inside the sun. Is this possible? Professor X, the host also said before that the bodies of Thanos and Thor can withstand the impact of the energy of neutron stars. Therefore, it is not so difficult to understand that the temperature of the sword tip reaches the high temperature inside the sun. How strange. In this place, his three views have been subverted many times. Kakashi. The high temperature inside the sun. I think you said before, wouldn't it turn people into ashes if they touch it? Thanos said. You really underestimate the high temperature of tens of millions of degrees. Such a high temperature it can instantly decompose you into a particle soup without touching your body. If he can hold such high temperature in his hand, he must have a way to restrain the high temperature. The god of death is called a god, and now it seems that he deserves this name. King of Angels Kesha. By the way, how exactly did the host do it? Can any of you understand? Obviously that sword is so weak. Guardian Star God Creeper. This should be the power of rules. Tsunade. Are there such unreasonable rules in the world? The Balance Star God Who. You're right, so it should be the rules created by the host himself. Master Ancient One. If you can create rules, doesn't that mean can you create the world? Happy Star God Aha. So, why do you think you have nothing to do with the host? He doesn't do anything else besides interviews. Judging from the fact that several star gods couldn't help but speak, Yi Bai's 100% empty-handed attack really surprised them. At this moment, the two bamboo swords slowly flew back to Yi Bai. Yamamoto Genryusai and Zaraki Kenpachi stood up. The two of them looked at Yi Bai, not saying a harsh word, but his eyes said everything. Yi Bai ignored them, turned to look at Aizen and said, I'm really curious, why did you directly expose what you did? Matter. Yes, you said that lying in front of me will have bad consequences, but you can choose not to say it. Aizen said, how about you guess? Yi Bai thought for a moment and said, Kuchiki Rukia. Did you deliberately expose yourself and draw everyone's attention here so that people could take Rukia Kuchiki away? Aizen exclaimed, is this the future you see? Yi Bai said, no, your future has changed since before. I can't see it anymore. Aizen said happily, so people's fate is not destined. Yi Dao shook his head and said, generally speaking, yes. It is difficult, very difficult to break the fixed destiny. Aizen laughed and said, that's great, people's destiny should not be restricted. Some people should not be born in heaven, and some should be born underground. And I will pull them down from the throne of heaven. At this time Kyoraku Shunsui said, why do you want to arrest Kuchiki Rukia, Kuchiki Rukia? Aizen, what did you do to Central Room 46? Capturing Rukia Kuchiki is an order from Central Type 46. But this order was unreasonable from the beginning. After all, asking a captain and deputy captain to capture an ordinary Shinigami would be too heavy a task. And Kuchiki, although Rukia made a mistake, the order from Central Room 46 was too much. Maybe it was Aizen's fault. Question mark. He looked at Jingroku Shunsui with a different look. I have never underestimated you, but I didn't expect you to be so smart. Then guess why I took Rukia Kuchiki away. Jingroku Spring Water. I can guess a younger brother. Hearing this, Kurosaki Ichigo panicked. He had not yet mastered his swastika, but he was already ready to save Rukia. Yoruichi said, if you meet a captain now, you will definitely die. Aizen must have captain-level subordinates, so I'll go. Then she turned into a beautiful black-skinned elder sister in the eyes of Kurosaki Ichigo. She grabbed her clothes and disappeared in front of Ichigo, who had a nosebleed. After Aizen's exposure, Yoruichi was able to appear above the corpse openly. Soul Realm. After hearing this, Kuchiki Byakuya rushed directly to the place where Kuchiki Rukia was imprisoned. Yi Bai said, you are a bit bullying if you make people guess like this. After all, speculation is not just a blind guess, you have to give people some clues. For example, when Rukia Kuchiki was in the human world, she was with Kazuki Urahara. At this time, Nelly Cocoon's voice sounded, Ben-yu, Aizen, you are here for Ben-yu. Kazuki Urahara placed his Hogyoku on Rukia Kuchiki. Aizen said, oh, I mentioned it before, you guessed it, you're not stupid. Because of this inexplicable interview, Aizen prepared for the worst from the beginning. He changed his original plan, and now it seems that the plan is going smoothly. At this moment, two extremely powerful spirits came from the distance. Pressure. One of them was Kuchiki Byakuya, and the other was Ichimaru Jin. At that moment, everyone understood that Ichimaru Jin, who had always been at odds with Aizen, was actually Kuchiki Shiro. He is the kind that Aizen despises, the noble insect who was born to stand in the sky. In response to Aizen's compliment, Niriyuri snorted coldly and did not answer. Kyoraku Shunsui asked, "What exactly is Bengyoku? Why is Aizen determined to win it?" This was the second time he heard the name Bengyoku. Nirvana said, "According to my speculation, it is something that can materialize the heart, or will, and spirit of the holder and the people around him. Didn't Aizen say that he wanted the Shinigami to become hollow, or the hollow Shinigami? It seems that he needs Bengyu to do such a thing." Kazuki Urahara was the director of the Technology Development Bureau of the previous generation. From the clues left by Kazuki Urahara, Nirvana deduced the purpose of the Hanyu. The reason why he rushed here is because he has convinced himself that he can rely on himself and the corpse soul. The power of the world cannot analyze this live broadcast room. He wants to get the answer from Yi Bai. After all, he is a scientist. The captains were shocked. They originally thought that 850 was just his idea before, and it was just a test. For a moment, I didn't expect that he could actually do it. Is this really possible? Iron Man. Beng Yu. Isn't this thing a bit like a reality gem? Modify reality according to your own wishes. Thanos. It shouldn't be that strong, but it's still something amazing. To be able to invent such a thing, it turns out that there are talented people in every universe. Tsunade. When you said this, I suddenly felt that reality is so fragile and anyone can change it. Maybe our world has been messed up and changed to become what it is now. Happy Star God, aha. Who knows? Maybe the world we live in is a playground created by higher dimensional beings. We are just something they use to have fun. King of Angels Kesha. Aren't you a typical nihilist? Happy Star God, aha. Ha ha ha, I hate nothingness the most. Void Star God 9. People of the motherland. No, what are you talking about? Wasn't the world originally created by gods? Butcher Billy Butcher. The gods would create something like you. It doesn't seem to be a good thing. Yamamoto Genryusai didn't care about the audience's comments and said, "As long as you catch Aizen, everything will be no problem. I'll stay here, you guys go take care of Rukia Kuchiki personally, and the others will check to see if there are any minions of Aizen besides Ichimaru Jin. By the way, let's take control of Central Room 46 first and find out how many Aizen's traitors are inside." Central Room 46 is a collective council composed of the nobles and elders of Soul Society. It is the highest judicial body in Soul Society. The Gote 13 team must also obey their orders, even Yamamoto Genryusai. But when Yamamoto Genryusai begins to suspect that the Central Room 46 is colluding with Aizen, he won't care about the so-called highest judicial authority. The rules of the Soul Society are what he is willing to abide by, and he doesn't. If you are willing to comply, that's bullshit. At this time, Yi Bai smiled at him. Actually, it doesn't make sense for you to go now, right, Aizen? Aizen smiled slightly and said nothing. He poured another cup of tea for Yi Bai in a smooth manner. His movements were graceful and showed all the three flavors of the tea ceremony. Yamamoto Genryusai said angrily, "Aizen, what did you do to the 46th room of the Central Committee?" Yi Bai raised his hand again and projected another light curtain. Above it was Aizen, who was nailed to the high wall. His blood flowed to the bottom of the wall. He seemed to be dead. Yi Bai said, "Originally in the future, Mr. Aizen will stir up conflicts in the Jingling court by faking his own death to cover up his hidden agenda and purpose. He has deceived almost everyone. Only two people noticed something was wrong, Hitsugaya Toshiro and Unohana Retsu, and then they all went to the Central Room 46. The screen changed to the Central Room 46. Hitsugaya and his deputy captain Matsumoto Rangaku walked into it, and then they saw the blood all over the floor, and the Central Room 46 was completely destroyed. Later, the two were led by Kira. She left, and Hinamori Momo came over. Seeing this tragic scene, she actually began to suspect that Hitsugaya or Kira had killed all the people in Central Room 46. At this time, Ichimaru Jin walked behind her and took her into Central Room 4. In the 10th room, he saw Aizen. Aizen said softly, "Long time no see, Hinamori." Hinamori Momo was so excited that she almost cried. She threw herself into Aizen's arms and told her thoughts about Aizen. Aizen comforted her gently. Aizen finally hugged Hinamori Momo back gently. "You've lost a lot of weight. I'm really sorry for hurting you so much. But I think you should be able to understand me, only you can. I have something to do, so I have to pretend to be dead." Hinamori Momo cried. "It doesn't matter, everything doesn't matter. As long as you, Captain Aizen, are still alive, everything doesn't matter." Seeing this, Hitsugaya became angry. He knew that Hinamori Momo was infatuated with Aizen, but he didn't expect it to reach this point. It was obvious that something was wrong with Aizen, and she, the vice captain, didn't notice anything wrong. The next moment, Hitsugaya's pupils were shocked, because he saw Aizen actually stabbed Hinamori Momo with a knife. Even at this time, Aizen still had a gentle smile on his face. Let countless gods of death shudder. Although he knew that this was just an image of the future, Hitsugaya couldn't help but roared, "Aizen, you beast! What on earth did you do?" Hinamori Momo on the side shook his head and said, "Fake, it's all fake. Captain Aizen is such a gentle person, there is no way he would do such a thing to me." Upon hearing this, Hitsugaya's forehead pulsed with veins. "You stupid woman, he has already killed you, and you still said that." Such words. Yamamoto Genryusai said, "No, it's impossible. The people in the 46th room in the center of the picture have been dead for a long time, but I have just been there before." Sui Feng also said, "I have been there before. So you are lying. Seeing the future is nonsense." Yi Bai smiled and said nothing. In the picture, Toshiro Hitsugaya appeared. Seeing Hinamori Momo lying on the ground, he was so angry that he couldn't control himself. Aizen said softly, "I'm sorry, I didn't intend to scare you. At least she should be chopped into pieces so that you don't find out." Hitsugaya clenched his fists and looked at Aizen and Ichimaru Jin. "When did you two get together?" Aizen still smiled softly. "Of course it has been from the beginning. Ever since I became the captain, 5.2 has never regarded anyone other than him as the vice captain." Hitsugaya's defense broke and he roared angrily, "Then why are you so nice to us? Were you deceiving us, deceiving everyone, from the beginning?" Aizen said gently, "I didn't intend to deceive anyone, but none of you have ever been able to understand my true face." Hitsugaya's voice was so angry that he was deformed. "Hinamori admires you so much that he joined the Gote 13 just to be close to you. In order to help you, I worked hard and finally became the vice captain." Aizen said gently, "I know that there is no one better to control than someone who admires you. That's why I made him my subordinate. This is the best opportunity to tell you a little bit about Hitsugaya. Admiration is the emotion furthest from understanding." At this moment, the Soul Society's Shinigami collectively broke their defenses. You must know that before Aizen told the evil deeds he had done, he had a very good image in the eyes of the entire Serenity Court and all the Shinigami. He is gentle and humble, very kind and considerate to both his subordinates and civilians. He is also very good at calligraphy, tea ceremony, and flower arrangement. He makes people feel like spring breeze when getting along with others. When he was on a mission, he took the lead and saved countless lives. In the eyes of many Shinigami, Aizen is the perfect representative and the object of their admiration. But now he spoke such cold language in that gentle tone. Even if you have any conspiracy, Hinamori Momo is so good to you, it won't hinder you. You can kill her at most, but there is no need to go to such a point. It's too much to kill people but also to punish them. Captain Aizen, is he such a person? He's such a beast for saying such a thing. Fake. Everything is fake, we were all deceived by him. This is the most hypocritical hypocrite in the history of Soul Society. Now I feel like vomiting when I think of what he said before. Hinamori Momo's eyes were dull, and she had lost the ability to think. In reality, Hitsugaya also held the hilt of the sword, with veins popping on his forehead. "Let me stay, Captain. I'm going to kill him." Yamamoto Genryusai said calmly, 27 inches he is just irritating you. Look, you in the future are already out of control. When facing the enemy, no matter what others say, don't lose your reason. In the picture, Hitsugaya has indeed lost his mind. He pressed the hilt of his sword and said in a deep voice, Swastika, Daigurian Hirenmaru. The endless cold current surged out and turned into ice and enveloped him, as if there was an ice dragon hovering over him, turning into armor and wings. Aizen, I'm going to kill you. Aizen smiled slightly, jumped in front of him, and said with a smile, you'd better not say anything too arrogant, it will make you look weak. Hishugaya flew up and pierced Aizen with a sword, and the endless cold energy turned into ice cubes and sealed Aizen inside. Everyone was stunned. Is Aizen's fighting power so great with such a powerful mouth? No, Han. Aizen in the ice smiled and disappeared, and he had appeared behind Hitsugaya. A crisp explosion sounded from Hitsugaya, the Daigurian Hyoran pill shattered, and blood spurted out like a fountain. No one saw how Aizen took action. How can it be? Hishugaya fell to the ground in disbelief. Aizen sighed. The scenery is so beautiful. Although the season is wrong, it is really nice to see ice in this weather. In reality, Hitsugaya's hand holding the sword became loose and he swallowed. How is that possible? This is not just him, even the other Shinigami and the captain can't believe it. That's the swastika. Only by mastering the swastika can you become a captain. The swastika itself is a symbol of strength. Although Hitsugaya is young, he is indeed mastering the swastika. Knowing the genius of the swastika, when facing Aizen, he was killed with a single blow without any chance of fighting back. Kyoryu Shunsui narrowed his eyes. How did he do it? Kashiwamura Zojun said. Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu is a genjutsu-type Zanpakuto of the flowing water system. Xiaobai must have been affected by the genjutsu. Jingroku Shunsui shook his head slightly. He didn't feel it before, but no matter how he looks at it now, it doesn't look like it. Broken Bee snorted. Xiaobai is still too young, too slow, and he was caught. At this time, Unohana Retsu and Katetsu Yun in the picture have rushed to the central room 46. Unohana Retsu put forward her own opinion, believing that the previous corpse was a corpse doll made by Aizen, and she was from the higher-ups sensed something was wrong, and then checked here. Aizen smiled and said, that's right, but there are two small mistakes. First, I didn't come here to hide, and the other one, this is not a corpse doll. After saying that, he raised his hand and grabbed it, and another Aizen's body appeared on his hand. The two were stunned. When? Aizen was still smiling. When? I've been holding it in my hand since just now. It's just that I didn't let him show up just now. Crush it, mirror flowers and water moon. As soon as he let go of his hand, the corpse turned into a Zanpakuto and fell to the ground. All the Shinigami's eyes widened, feeling that their three views were challenged. Everyone watched the previous events without blinking, but I can't see how Aizen took out the corpse and turned it into a sword. Aizen continued. This is my Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu. Possess the power of complete hypnosis. Katetsu Yon couldn't accept it. Kyoka Suigetsu is a phantom Zanpakuto of the flowing water system. It uses random reflections of mist and water to disrupt the enemy and make them kill each other. You said this and called all our vice captains to demonstrate it. Maojawali suddenly realized. So that's it, is it a hypnosis ritual? Aizen was noncommittal. It's completely hypnotic and can control the enemy's five senses. It can cause the enemy to misunderstand the shape, quality, feel, and even smell of an object. You can see flies as dragons, you can see swamps as flower fields. The activation condition is to let the enemy see the moment of liberation. At this moment, all the captains, deputy captains, and the first few seats in Soul Society were all broken. Because Aizen had demonstrated it in front of them, which meant that the man had completely hypnotized them. Yamamoto Genryusai was furious. I see, no wonder he dared to expose all this so arrogantly. He controls all our five senses and is confident that we cannot keep him. If Kyoka Suigetsu's ability is real, then Aizen will be too difficult to deal with. Zaraki Kenpachi said fiercely, I don't care what hypnosis he does, he will die anyway if I cut him with a knife. 0.960 inches. Kusuka Yakiru. Ajien is right. Komamura Zojun was suddenly shocked. No, if you have to see his mirror flowers and water moon to be hypnotized, then Tosen will. Captain Tosen. Seeing the guards being knocked down and seeing Tosen Konami coming towards her coldly, Kuchiki Rukia couldn't accept it. She really didn't expect that Dong Xian would be Aizen's person. At this time, Yoruichi's voice sounded. Tosen, I really didn't expect that you would also become Aizen's lackey. I won't let you take her away. Dong Xingxian said. The famous Si Fengyuan Yi, the leader among the four nobles, I really want to fight you and then kill you. But now is not the time. At this time, Ichimaru Jin got rid of Kuchiki Byakuya and arrived here. Kuchiki Byakuya followed closely. He said to Kuchiki Rukia, it's okay, I won't let them take you away. Ichimaru Jin smiled and said, it's not a good idea to talk big now, Captain Kuchiki. The next moment, a crack appeared above the Soul Society, and countless Daxu appeared on it. Then a ray of light came down, and the Daxu took away the three of them with the anti-film. As for Aizen, they didn't need to worry about it at all. They believed that Aizen wants to leave the Soul Society, and no one can stop him, not even Yamamoto Genryusai. Moreover, Aizen has found another way from the Great Spirit Book corridor to remove Bengyoku from the soul, which does not require bipolar. Magneto. Completely hypnotized. Charles, is his ability very similar to yours? Professor X, it is somewhat similar, but fundamentally different. Professor much more. Uchiha Madara, we can judge whether we are under genjutsu by the flow of chakra. But he seems to be different. After all, we are all human beings, and we perceive the world and ourselves through our five senses. If he really has complete control over other people's five senses, it would be really difficult to deal with, because everything you sense and know may be false. However, Hana Retsu could detect something was wrong with the fake corpse, which meant that Kyoka Suigetsu was not invulnerable. The comments section was discussing the Zanpakuto, the ability of the Shinigami. In Soul Society, Hana Retsu was driving towards Rukia, and she saw the great void in the sky, and saw the counter-membrane. She was against Katetsu Isamu Yin said. I didn't expect that Aizen would actually cooperate with Hawako Mundo. He has completely fallen. We don't have to go there. Then they rushed towards the fifth team together. Urahara Kazuki, who had just sneaked in, looked at this scene and couldn't help but hold down his hat. It's still too late. Then he also rushed towards the 5th division to get rid of Aizen. This was the best opportunity. Yoichi and Kuchiki Byakuya, who failed to intercept, also rushed over. In addition to the two traitors Ichimaru Jin and Tosen Kanami, and Yukitake Jashiro, who was ill at home, and all the other captains, Kurosaki Ichigo, and his friends also rushed to the 5th division and surrounded Aizen's family with that terrifying spiritual pressure. Almost fainted. Aizen was still calm, as if he had no sense of crisis, and was still introducing his Tite Bai. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo roared, Aizen, where did you take Rukia? Went. After seeing the comment section saying that Lucia was taken away, he finally understood the swastika. After all, he was only one step away, and he was still the biggest loser in the world. Then he used the swastika punch. Here we are. Aizen said, I will use a technique I got from Urahara Kazuki to extract the Hanyu in her body. With any luck, maybe she won't die. I may not send her over then. Yamamoto Genryusai said, if you want to use Rukia as a hostage in exchange for your life, I tell you that is impossible. Aizen is a man of strategy and caution, but he is also a real waste of money. Even though he knew that Ichimaru Jin wanted to kill him, he still kept Ichimaru Jin by his side. Mingming Jing Wa Suigetsu's ability is so awesome, others I don't know, it would be more painful to deal with it, but he just told everyone. This is a typical narcissistic personality. Hearing what Yamamoto Genryusai said, he was very unhappy. How could he have such incompetent thoughts? He was about to retort, but at this moment, Yi Bai said, Old sir, you don't seem to have a correct understanding of Aizen's strength. Do you think his strength is just because of the beauty of the mirror? In the original future, Renji, who had just saved Rukia, was brought to Aizen, and Kurosaki Ichigo, who had just awakened the swastika, was also there. At that time, he had just defeated Kuchiki Byakuya. Let's take a look. Let's have a fight. Kuchiki Byakuya opened his eyes and looked at Kurosaki Ichigo. Is this guy awakening to the swastika? Can you beat me? It's impossible to be so unreasonable in the future, right? The picture changes again. Renji used his first attack to attack Aizen. Aizen just stretched out his hand and held his Zanpakuto in his hand, and then cut it in two. Rinci outside the live broadcast room was dumbfounded. Use your hands. This is impossible, right? Kurosaki Ichigo mocked. What a weakling. Rinci was furious. You know nothing, the host said. You are awakened swastika, is this bullshit? Kurosaki Ichigo. Hee, you just mastered it. Didn't you notice that I'm different? Renji couldn't believe it. You can actually master swastika. This is so unreasonable. The scene changed. Renji is controlling the broken Zanpakuto to attack Aizen, creating an opportunity for Ichigo. Ichigo rushed forward, his speed was beyond imagination. All the captains could see that he did control the swastika. A traveler who has only been exposed to the god of death for a long time has mastered the swastika. This is outrageous. And this blow is not bad. If they think about it from their perspective, even if they face it themselves, it may be a bit troublesome. However, defeating Captain Byakuya with this. It's still a bit hard to imagine. In the scene, facing Ichigo's full blow, Aizen just stretched out a finger. Just one index finger blocked his attack. The world seems to be quiet. Outside, Kurosaki Ichigo, who had just gained a lot of confidence in learning swastika, saw this scene, and his face suddenly fell. Diaresis open corner bracket. How can this be? The expressions of the captains also changed greatly. They thought to themselves that they would never be able to block Ichigo's attack with one finger. Then a figure fell from the sky in the picture. Komamura's left formation arrived first. Angry, he was about to use the swastika black rope to punish the King of Heaven, but unexpectedly, Aizen, who was clearly far away, suddenly appeared beside him, and a black coffin killed him. In front of Aizen, he couldn't even use the swastika. Everyone in the Komamura left formation outside was stunned. He couldn't imagine that he couldn't even take one of Aizen's moves. Kyoryaku Shunsui couldn't help but wiped his face. No, even a 90-year-old ghost can give up chanting. Sing. The faces of the captains are even more ugly. Aizen can kill Hitsugaya with one move, Ichigo with the swastika kai with one move, and Ichigo with Komamura's left formation, but can he kill himself with one move? Impossible. Yi Bai said. Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu has absolute control over the enemy's five senses. Even if he knows that he has been hit, he can't get rid of it. As far as I know, no one has done it yet. So this often makes people ignore his strongest point, his terrifying spiritual pressure. After all, the battle between Shinigami is actually a battle between Reiatsu. Let's take a look at his battle with you in the original future to let you know more about Aizen's strength. The picture switched again, and it had turned into Karakura town. Aizen easily repelled the sneak attack of Kurosaki Ichigo. Then a group of captains surrounded him. The Shinigami counted 7 captain level 1s. The characters are angry. In addition to the captain, there are also people from the Masked Legion. Most of these people are known to the Shinigami. After knowing that they were framed by Aizen, everyone in the Masked Legion is no longer regarded as traitors. Looking at this battle, no matter how strong Aizen is, he can't win in this situation. In the picture, Hitsugaya directly used the swastika, and the ice and snow dragon once again covered his body, like a pair of wings and a set of armor. The cold air surged wildly, and there were still a few flower petals hanging on the ice dragon. Anyone who knew how to do it could see that his swastika was already completed. For his age, he is indeed too much of a genius. Hitsugaya roared and charged towards Aizen. Endless ice and snow bloomed on his long sword, turning into an ice dragon and striking towards Aizen. The ice dragon's changes were unpredictable and unpredictable. At the same time, Lisa Yatomaru of the Masked Legion, Aikawa Ratake, Hobashiro Jiro, and the Komamura left formation also joined the battle, but they were still unable to cause any harm to Aizen. Aizen smiled. You want to defeat me with such power? It seems that your understanding of power is different from mine. Let me tell you what power is. The next moment, he appeared above Komamura's left formation as if he teleported, and slashed with the long sword in his hand. This time, Komamura's left formation finally used the black rope of the heaven's punishment, but Aizen just gave him such a mediocre blow. He cut off King Ming's huge sword and arm, almost splitting it in two. The Zuo Gen of Komamura outside the live broadcast room widened his eyes again. He used his swastika but was killed in one move, me and his. Is the gap so big? Then Aizen easily grabbed Hobashiro Juro's Zanpakuto, and pulled him to his side as if made of gold, and slashed away. Yatomaru Lisa and Aikawa Luowu. They were all killed in one move. Even Yatomaru Lisa had a fake mask on her face. The 3290 fakes were stunned. It has been over 100 years since the talented people in the army defected, and most of the Shinigami knew them. Two of them were originally captains. And Captain Komamura, whose Black Rope Heavenly Punishment King was so strong, ended up being defeated so easily. Is the traitor Aizen so strong? But there are also many people who are attracted by the mask on Yatomaru Lisa's face. Zaraki Kenpachi. Mask. She is virtual. Niryuri said. No, Aizen said before that he has been trying to make the god of death become hollow, and he also used Hiriko Mako and the others to do experiments. It seems to have been successful. It is said that the Shinigami will be stronger after becoming hollow, but is he still no match for Aizen? Jingraku Shunsui. I feel like it's a bit mysterious, even though my future self is also there. Comment area. Hiriko Mako. How is that possible? He couldn't even take a single sword. He couldn't be more clear that these people are much stronger than before after being transformed. Such power was actually destroyed in seconds. This guy Aizen is too strong. Nirvana. You have really mastered the void. You seem to be very mature. Why don't you come back to my place for experiments? Anyway, your status as a traitor is definitely gone now. Hiriko Mako. Get out. Niryuri has a good reputation, and he doesn't want to be a guinea pig for this person. Ichimaru Jin. Haha, you know nothing about Captain Aizen's power. You were losers 100 years ago, so what's the use of getting together now? Surugaki Hiyori. You will not end well, I will definitely kill you. Tosen Kanami. Komamura, it looks so embarrassing for you to lose. Why don't you join us? Komamura Zojun. You can actually talk up here, what nonsense are you talking about? Dongxian, why did you rebel? Have you fallen? Dongxian Yao, for friends. Back then, when his friend was killed, the traitor should be punished by death according to the law, but because he was a noble and a member of the Tsunayashiro family, nothing happened to him. Such a soul society has no value of existence. Only Aizen-sama can change this rotten world. Wisdom Star God Bo Shizen. The changes in the soul are that one is the god of death, and the other is the void. The god of death and the void can also transform into each other. Can you provide me with relevant data? I want to cooperate with you. He still wants to study the souls of other universes. As long as it's a problem that he doesn't understand, he wants to study it. Nirvana. Maybe, let's talk about how to cooperate. The two people chatted. The activity level in the live broadcast room finally reached 60%. And the battle on the screen was still fierce. Zombie was blocking Aizen's face. The zombie in the picture was completely different from now. Her left hand it's broken, and there's a finger glove on her right hand. That's what her Zanpakuto looks like. The Zanpakuto outside the live broadcast room is dumbfounded. Aizen. I'll kill you. I want to kill you. Yi patted her shoulder and said to her, don't worry, the future has changed, you won't become like this. Broken Bee felt sad in his heart. Master Yi Da, you are finally back. It turns out that everything was caused by Aizen, I still hated you so much before. The Broken Bee in the picture used high-speed teleportation, shaking his body and turning into dozens of phantoms. Aizen mocked. It's not bad as a juggling act. The Broken Bee was furious, and countless clones rushed towards Aizen. Just as Aizen was about to raise his hand, suddenly Endless Frost froze his sword. Hitsugaya seized the opportunity to make a sneak attack and succeeded. At the same time, the Broken Bee hit Aizen. A delicate flower bloomed on his chest. That was the ability of the bird bee. A bee pattern would appear on the place hit by it. If it hit this place twice, no matter how strong the enemy was, he would definitely die. So Zaiho didn't hesitate, and hit Aizen in the second stage. But at this moment, Hongwenhua disappeared. Aizen squeezed her hand. Second stage kill, it's interesting, but it's useless to me. The battle of the Shinigami is the battle of spiritual pressure. With your little ability, my spiritual pressure can easily suppress you. Joe-bee outside the live broadcast room was shocked. She knew how strong her bird bee was. She never failed to hit the second level of special kill, but it was useless against Aizen. How strong he is. Until this moment, she had a more intuitive understanding of Aizen's power. But at this moment, a black knife penetrated Aizen's chest, and then Kyoraku Shunsui emerged from the shadow on the ice. Come out. Aizen, you are careless, there are shadows on the ice. The ability of Kyoraku Shunsui Zanpakudo Hanaden Kwangoku Haiku's ability can turn a child's game into reality. This is a shadow ghost game, and the person whose shadow is stepped on will lose. Then Hitsugaya roared and rushed towards Lan Ran. Aizen raised his sword to block, but Hitsugaya disappeared, appeared behind him, and stabbed him through. Mako Hirako, who had not made a move, smiled. Finally, I got the chance to reverse the situation. That's the ability of his Zanpakudo, which can reverse people's vision. Hitsugaya was clearly rushing towards Aizen from behind, but Aizen thought that Hitsugaya was in front. Aizen lowered his arms and seemed to have lost his mind. There was a burst of cheers outside the live broadcast room. You must know that Hirako Mako was originally the captain of the 5th Division, Aikawa Luowu was originally the captain of the 7th Division, and Hobashiro Jiro was originally the captain of the 13th Division. There are only 7 captains in total. Yatomaru Lisa was originally the deputy captain of the 8th Division. According to the comments section, they were stronger after mastering the hollow. Even so, the casualties were so heavy in the end, and even the captains were not unjust. Take a breath. Although Aizen is strong, he is not invulnerable. At this time, Kurosaki Ichigo in the screen roared, "What are you doing?" Everyone was stunned. Aizen, who was killed by everyone, had turned into Momo Hinamori. Aizen had appeared on the ground at some point. This scene made the death god, whether on the screen or in reality, break through his defenses again. How possible? Even if Aizen can use Kyoka Suigetsu, in that case, how can he use his Hinamori Momo? In the picture, Hirako Mako roared, "Asshole, when did you use it?" Quote. Through the looking glass. Aizen smiled and said, "Then I have to ask, when did you get the illusion that I didn't use Kyoka Suigetsu?" On the other side, Hitsugaya in the sky hugged Hinamori Momo, fell to the ground, and rushed towards Aizen violently. Then he was knocked down with another knife, followed by Zaiho, Kyoraku Shunsui, and Hirako Mako. All with one knife. It's as quiet as a cemetery outside the live broadcast room. The Shinigami have tried their best to overestimate Aizen's strength, but Aizen's strength is still bottomless. There are 4 captains and 4 masked legions, including 3. It was the former captain, and they had mastered the power of Hollow, but they were as powerless as a child when facing Aizen. Even Aizen didn't use his full strength at all, and they had not seen Aizen like this. Ran, can anyone beat him? Can the captain win? The scene stops here. Yi Bai said, "Did you see it? This is Aizen's strength, although at that time he had already fused with Bengyu and was much stronger than he is now. But I think even now, except perhaps Captain Yamamoto, no one in Soul Society can be his opponent. You have to be careful." The Shinigami were stunned for a moment. "You're so nice. By the way, it was actually the host who exposed Aizen's conspiracy, so he is on our side." Many Shinigami felt, in their hearts, such thoughts. At this time, Yamamoto Genryusai said, "Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu can make us unable to distinguish between the true and false of the enemy and ourselves. There is no meaning to him in large numbers. Moreover, his spiritual pressure far exceeds yours. So you all go away, just leave me here. As long as I am alone, no matter how Aizen uses Kyoka Suigetsu, it will be useless, I will completely destroy this place." This is a very good tactic. Although Aizen showed great strength before, the Shinigami still believed in Yamamoto Genryusai's strength and backed away one after another. At this time, Aizen asked, "It's strange, it looks like Bengyu nothing went wrong, so how will I fail in the future? Could it be that he was finally defeated at the hands of the captain?" Yi Bai smiled but didn't answer, and said, "No, Captain Yamamoto is very strong, but you are the one who wins in the end." The screen turned again. It was still Karakura town, and a fire dragon shot straight into the sky. Yamamoto Genryusai walked out with Ryer and Wakahui. "Boy, you are crazy enough, but with your little ability, you still want to hurt me." After saying that, he slashed out with his sword. Aizen disappeared instantly and stabbed him through. Seeing this scene, the Shinigami were about to collapse. Yamamoto Genryusai can be regarded as the spiritual totem of the Shinigami, but he actually lost like this. How could this happen? Maybe. Even Captain Yamamoto was killed in one move. Who else could be his opponent if Aizen was so strong? But Yamamoto Genryusai in the picture smiled and grabbed Aizen's hand. Finally. Stay with you. Aizen said. Interesting, what if I catch it? Is it really my arm you're grabbing? You should be well aware of Jinghua Shui's abilities. Yamamoto Genryusai said. Is this the so-called complete hypnosis? I see, nothing I saw or felt was believable, but I couldn't admit the Zanpakuto's spiritual pressure that stabbed me in the abdomen. Then fire dragons shot straight into the sky, one after another, blocking everything. Aizen said in surprise, so you did this while your men were being chopped to pieces. Yamamoto said, you will be buried in the hot hell with me. Aizen looked at the captains who were chopped down by him. Are you just ignoring your subordinates like this? Yamamoto said again, they already regard death as their own, and they want to get rid of you, a villain, at the cost of their own lives. This is the spirit of the Gotei 13. At this moment, a strange hollow appeared behind Yamamoto Genryusai. Yamamoto Genryusai slashed with his sword, but was caught by him with his bare hands, and all the fire disappeared instantly. Aizen said, there is no doubt that your flow blade is the strongest Zanpakuto. If it were to fight me head-on, its combat power would undoubtedly be superior to mine. This hollow is the only Arankar I have transformed. His name is the Fire Prince. He has only one ability, which is to seal your blade Wakahu. The sealed Yamamoto was still strong and easily killed the Prince of Fire. Unfortunately, the flames sealed by the Prince of Fire were released after his death, directly injuring Yamamoto severely. The scene was frozen again. Yi Bai said, Aizen, your tactics are very good. Success, this is how you beat Yamamoto. After all, you have thoroughly studied his abilities, but he doesn't know you well enough. Yamamoto was silent outside the live broadcast room. He didn't lose unfairly. The gods of death finally breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out that they defeated Captain Yamamoto through conspiracy and trickery. Wait, when did they defeat Captain Yamamoto through conspiracy and trickery? Do we think it's normal? Yi Bai then said, although you defeated Yamamoto, you still lost in the end. Because you didn't win, I've actually been curious, what is your ultimate goal? Do you want to break the boundaries of the god of death, pursue personal greatness and transcend everything, or do you just want to bring down the Soul King and those nobles and reshape the order of Soul Society? Or maybe both. After hearing this, the expressions of all the Shinigami changed again. Yamamoto roared, Aizen, do you know what you are doing? Do you know what the Spirit King is? Aizen said calmly, of course, it is said that the Soul King created our world, the present world, Soul Society, and Hawaiko Mundo. It is said that the 5 major families in Soul Society, no, the 4 major families now represent the will of the Soul King, so they are supreme in Soul Society. I think if the Spirit King lets those swarms of insects convey his wishes and govern the 3 realms, it means he is wrong. In this case, let's change someone to be the spiritual king. Yamamoto was furious. You don't understand anything. Aizen smiled and said, no, Captain Yamamoto, I know more than you think. I know that there are people guarding the palace of the spiritual king. I know that the spiritual king is the wedge of the 3 realms and maintains the balance of the 3 realms. But he can do this, and after merging with Bengyu, I can too. Now I know that I will fail in the future. But as long as I summarize it well, I will definitely succeed. Yi Bai nodded and said, listen to what you said, you really want both. If you are destined to fail, what will you do? Aizen smiled and said, you said that fate is not destined. It is difficult to change fate, but I want to try. Comment section. Ikibe, the commander of the army. Oh, you have a strong tone, Aizen. Nikaya Wang Yu. Originally, you will lose in the future, but this time you will still lose. Now even the members of the Zero Squadron also unable to hold on any longer, I spoke out. Originally, they didn't want to get involved in this kind of dispute. Who would have thought that Aizen's ambitions were so big and crazy? At this time, Yi Bai said, do you want to know why you failed? Aaron shook his head and said, no. Mr. Yi, I want to remind you that I did not fail. The future you speak of has not happened yet and will never happen. Yi Bai smiled. No, I think you will still fail, because you haven't discovered the reason for your failure yet. Aizen couldn't help but push up his glasses again. You mean, it's not that I underestimated Captain Yamamoto, or that I was too proud and complacent, but that I lost in unexpected places. Yi. Bai nodded. Yes, you lost to a loser. Aizen was stunned. What does hanging up mean? Then, as if he understood something, he turned to look at Kurosaki Ichigo in the distance and said, so I actually lost to Kurosaki Ichigo. Kurosaki Ichigo was stunned. Me. Will I defeat this guy in the future? I am so powerful. Aizen sighed. I see, is the offspring born from the union of a Shinigami and a Quincy so strong? As soon as these words came out, it immediately caused huge waves. Gone. A thunderbolt sounded in Kurosaki Ichigo's mind. I am the son of death and a Quincy. My dad is the god of death. Or a Quincy. How can this be? That weird dad. Uryu Ishida couldn't help but push up his glasses. It turns out that you are also the son of the exterminator. Then it makes sense for us to become friends. That's weird. How could a Shinigami marry a Quincy and have children? The captains also had their opinions exploded. They all stared at Ichigo Kurosaki, wondering who his father was. They thought about which god of death named Kurosaki could do such a thing. Comment section. Dr. Banner. Wait, let me check it out. The host introduced that the god of death is the soul of a person, and their body is made up of souls, so they have no entity, right? Friends in the comment section said that Quincy are humans, right? How to have a baby. Master Gu Yi. I know something about souls, but the souls in this world are obviously different from our world. 81010. Doctor, the star god of wisdom, with my knowledge of this world just now, I can't explain it. Angel Yan, could it be that the god of death took away a person's body, fell in love with the person, and gave birth to this child? Happy star god, aha, it's really interesting. Didn't the comment section say before that Quincy and death are mortal enemies? The child born of rival forces who love and kill each other. This kid has the template of the protagonist, no wonder he can defeat Aizen. The comment area was very lively. It took a while before a comment came out. Kurosaki Ishin. Sorry, Ichigo. I've kept it from you for so long. In fact, I was originally Shia Ishin, the former captain of the 10th Division. Soul Society exploded again. No one would have thought it would be like this. Ishin Shia, a noble of Soul Society, well, a down-and-out noble, how could such a person have a child with a Quincy? What's your position? Shiba Kuzuru. So your kid is actually my nephew. Kurosaki Ichigo looked at the comment section dizzy. He felt that everyone was looking at him strangely. He couldn't help but press his forehead. Idiot dad, why didn't you tell me this kind of thing? No, if my mother was a Quincy, how could she be eaten by an ordinary hollow? At this time, Yi Bai continued, actually, it's not just that. Kurosaki Ichigo even has the blood of Shu. At this moment, everyone couldn't hold back. I've seen mixed races, but it's still rare to be mixed like this. This is so explosive. How can one person's bloodline be strung together like this? In the comment area, even Hawako Mundo's speech came out. Dia Harabel. Hun will have a child with a human. Kiartai Stark. Then, can I? Dia Harabel. What are you thinking about? Ichigo Kurosaki, I'm really stupid, my CPU is burned out. But he believed it, because when he was training with Urahara Kazuki before, he had become virtual. So that guy in his body is a void. Yi Bai continued. The reason why Kurosaki Masaki died at that time was because the founder of the Quincy, Yuwatch, woke up and activated the Holy Spirit. He took back all the power given to the Quincy. So to a certain extent, Kurosaki Ichigo is still the prince of the Quincy. Because all Quincy are of the bloodline of Yuwatch. As for Yuo's bloodline, it's because her mother was bitten by Shu, and when she was born, she had already begun to fade away. Yohabak. Originally, not all the death gods knew this name, but Yi Bai had said before that the death gods knew that this person was the enemy of the Soul Society, but not many knew how strong this guy was. And Yamamoto Genryusai said solemnly, Yuhabak, are you awake yet? Yi Bai nodded and said, yes, the invisible empire created by the Quincy is hidden in the shadow of the Serenity Court. They watch it every day, you guys, I'm analyzing you. I'm afraid it will be hard for you to fight with them. Nirvana was struck by lightning. He had noticed some abnormalities before, but now that he thought about it, it turned out to be true. Good guy, these Quincy are actually hiding in the Serenity Court. What a bold, arrogant approach. As soon as these words came out, the entire comments section exploded. Hugel and Hasward. Good host, do you have any grudge against us, the Knights of the Star Cross? I don't remember that we have offended you. Panita Pakaha. How dare you be so blasphemous? Your Majesty, how can a dead hybrid be a prince? One by one, names that had never appeared before began to curse. Those are the extermination divisions of the Knights of the Star Cross. Yi Bai directly exposed their years of planning, and they were so angry that it was unimaginable. But Yuwatch hasn't fully woken up yet, and they don't know whether they should launch a surprise attack at this time. Moreover, their previous plans were not carried out, and the chance of winning directly by launching a surprise attack may not be high enough. This time, the activity level soared to 95%. Yi Bai chuckled. Sure enough, all these secrets were revealed, and the effect was outstanding. He could see backstage, and of course he could see the Quincy's of the Knights of the Star Cross who had been silent. Although it is no longer necessary for everyone to speak, the activity level can reach 100%. But when they speak, it is naturally easier to achieve 100%. Yi Bai continued to break the news. These scolding people are members of the Knights of the Star Cross, which is the extermination division army re-established by Yuwatch. I think as Mr. Yamamoto who once fought against Yuwatch and sealed him, you must know how difficult these guys can be. I'm still a little curious, how did you seal him, and how could he hide under your nose for so long? Okay, that's it for the interview with Mr. Eisen. I'm going to end this interview with a lottery. Post the words, "Good luck," in the comment area and you will have a chance to win a mysterious prize. The comment area was filled with Rui again. Then a turntable appeared on the light screen in front of everyone. When the turntable stopped, it pointed to a name. Rukia Kuchiki. This time, Yi Bai didn't. Behind the scenes, this unlucky kid was pretty lucky. Then, Yi Bai clicked on the gift, and he didn't know what the grand prize was. He had to check it out after returning. At this time, Yi Bai finally said, "That's right. The interview ends here." At this time, Eisen suddenly asked, "Mr. Yi Bai, thank you for the interview, do I have another question?" "Certainly. How can I be like you and be able to travel freely between different 2.5 worlds? Can Bengyu do it? 2.5 inches. Everyone's ears stood up. Yi Bai smiled. Probably not. But it's not impossible, or next time I come to this world to play, I can take you to other worlds to play with. Oh, right. The live broadcast also has a reward function. If you like my interview, you can support it. The comment area exploded again. Happy Star God aha. Take me, take me. How can you not take me for such a fun thing? Wisdom Star God Bo Shi Zun. I also want to visit other universes. Can you take me with you? Uzumaki Naruto. I want to go too, please take me with you. Iron Man. I want it too. Tsunade. I want it too. Everyone spoke one after another, and no one wanted to go to a different world. In order to attract Yi Bai's attention, they all clicked on the reward function and started to buy gifts. Iron Man knew very well about online rewards, but this was his first time giving rewards to a mysterious person who traveled between different universes. Speaking of Daula, the host shouldn't need it, right? He tried it on the display in front of him and finally found the tipping function. Audience ID, Iron Man. Items that can be rewarded. Soul Gem, Steel Suit. Sure enough, the host stopped having fun. But as for these two things, there is no problem. He was planning to throw the Mind Stone into the sun. As for the Steel Suit, as long as he has enough money and materials, he can make as many as he wants. So he directly chose to reward. Then the screen showed. Iron Man rewarded the Mind Stone and the Iron Suit. The American captain smiled bitterly and closed the reward interface, because the only thing he could reward was his vibranium shield. 90% of his strength was rewarded on this shield that could absorb any energy. For what? Yi Bai felt happy when he saw this information. Was there such a good thing? Originally, he wanted to just dodge when he saw the activity level reaching 100%. If there was such a good thing, he would just wait a little longer. 27 followed by 27 are displayed again on the screen. The king of angels Kesha rewarded Sky Blade number 9 inches. An ancient mage rewards a hanging ring. The guardian star god Krippur rewarded him with a star hammer. The happy star god Aha rewarded the mask of the fool that he made with his own hands. Nanook, the god of destruction, rewards a star core. Bo Shizan, the star god of wisdom, rewards an astral computer. The hunting star Shenlin rewarded a light arrow. The medicine master of the fertile star rewarded a seed from a planetary giant tree. Am I crazy? What are these? Angel Yan's car is Tianren number 7, so is this Tianren number 9 a new model? Star hammer. Could it be the kind of thing made by pressing the star on the hammer when the star god of preservation and the star god of breeding was hammered to death? And star core. What do I use this thing for? The seeds of the planet's giant tree. Does it mean it can grow into a planet? Maybe he can also bear the fruit of immortality like Jonmu. Can Aha just give me a mask? What does this mask say? The bosses are so generous. According to this general rule, when it comes to giving rewards, the platform and the anchor are 50-50, and you are developed. Even if the system is more ruthless, and it is 37 or 28, you will definitely make money without losing money. Earned it. In this case, Yi Bai was not in a hurry to leave. Yi Bai said, since everyone is so enthusiastic, I can't just leave like this. Let's introduce Yuhabak to everyone. It is said that he is the son of the Spirit King. When he was just born, he could not see, hear, make sounds, or even move. But he has an ability called soul sharing. When others touch him, he can separate part of his soul to fill the gap in the soul of the person who touches him, gradually healing the original psychological or physical defects of the person who touches him. Looks great, right? But all the people healed by Yuwatch will not live long. After these people die, their souls and abilities will return to Yuwatch's body. This made Yuwatch extremely powerful, allowing him to shamelessly claim to be omniscient and omnipotent. And he must continue to absorb the souls of others through this kind of killing in order to continue to survive. However, Yuwatch also has a lofty ambition. He hopes to obliterate the Soul King, destroy the 3 realms, and then unite the 3 realms so that the soul will no longer reincarnate and create a chaotic world without death and fear. Comment area. Happy Star God Aha. Come on. As expected, every world has a madman who wants to destroy the world. Euglin Hasward. Rude fellow. Wouldn't that kind of world be a bad thing? He is Yuwatch's personal bodyguard and the highest-ranking member of the Knights of the Star Cross. He is loyal to Yuwatch and of course he cannot be slandered by others. Iron Man. What a fart. If you take a closer look at this ability, isn't it just a lone shark? In the end, I'll eat all the bones and bones for you. Yi Mage. You have to keep killing and devouring other people's souls to survive. Isn't this a devil? Destroying the world and recreating it is indeed the devil's approach. Captain America. What Eisen did was that he felt that the world was wrong, so he wanted to change the world and become the king himself. Yuwatch's approach. If you feel that the world is not right, then destroy the world and replace it with one you are satisfied with. You are more extreme than Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara. What does it have to do with me? I feel like Thanos. Thanos. Backquote. D. How are they similar? I'm not that crazy. King of Angels Kesha. I remember in your interview, you said that people don't know how to be grateful, so you will use infinite gems to turn the entire universe into basic particles, and then reshape the universe. Thanos. Hunter Star God Lan. A world where death does not occur and everyone lives forever. Pharmacist, and you in the pursuit of the same. But this is worthless, because such a world will be a stagnant water. Pharmacist of the Harvest Star God. What's wrong with eternal life without pain and fear? Of course it's not good to destroy the world just for this. 777. Patrol 777 Hunter Star Shenlin. Can you tell me again that there is no fear or pain? What followed was a group of exterminator scoldings. Yi Bai smiled and said, I just said it was a bit too one-sided. Come on, let's see what Yuwatch himself said. Yuhabak appeared on the screen. He was confronting Ichigo. Ichigo said angrily, you are not my father, you killed my mother. Yuhabak sneered, just because of your mother. You really don't look like a man, Ichigo. What's there to be sad about? She died because she deserved to die, she lived to give birth to you, to be the source of my strength. What else could she be dissatisfied with? Is there anything happier than this in this world? Then the scene changed. The one confronting Yuwatch became the monk soldiers of the Zero Squadron. Guard. Yuwatch said to Ikibe, the commander of the army, if you can't understand, then I will tell you. No one can take anything away from me. Even your power is the same. If you still don't understand, find out here. Everything in this world exists for me to take away. The scene is frozen here. The comments section is a blast again. Master Ancient One, how can he say such a thing? Is he still a human being? He is indeed a devil. Black Widow, how can he say such a thing with a legitimate attitude? I have seen narcissistic perverts, but this is the first time I have seen one who is so narcissistic. Thor, if someone says this to me, I will blow his head off with a hammer. Brother Ichigo, come on. Evil god Loki, who do you think you are to say such things so brazenly? God. Tsunade. Aizen is a super villain. What he says and does makes people shudder. But compared with him, Aizen looks like an innocent little boy. I got goosebumps all over my body. Uzumaki Naruto. I really hate the way he talks. Kakashi Hatake, who believes this kind of person who says he wants to create a perfect world. Nagato. Why are there such people in every world? It is because of the existence of such people that peace is rare in the world. Uchiha Madara. You say one thing and do another, I just want to vomit. Danzo. Haha, it sounds like you are a good person. Professor X. Once again witnessing the abnormal diversity of the multiverse, I feel that my knowledge of psychology is not enough. Tia Harabel. This guy wants to destroy the three realms. Does he even want to destroy Hawako Mundo? Balagan Ruzenbang. What a big tone, let him try it. Isshin Kurosaki. Asshole. How could there be such shameless people in this world? There was a lot of complaints in the comment area. The god of death and the Knights of the Star Cross were quarreling with each other in the comment area. But this time, even the rebuttal of the Knights of the Star Cross seemed to be much smaller. Yamamoto Genryusai held his own. The sword is like fire, and the veins in his hands are pulsing. It is indeed Yuwatch. He actually fought against Ikibe, the commander of the army, which means that he has already killed the Soul King Palace in the future. In the original future, I failed to stop Aizen, and no one stopped Yuwatch. What a shameful failure. Maybe the host is right, these people know me too well, but I don't know them well enough over the years. I became a bit complacent. I became the strongest Shinigami in the Soul Society and created an unprecedented stable order for the Soul Society. Or, I thought I had reached my limit. But the existence of these people shows that I am. The limit has not yet been reached. I am obsessed with the past and have slacked off. The veins in Kurosaki Ichigo's hand holding the knife are bulging, so in fact, this guy actually killed his mother because he caused her to be swallowed up by the void. Fortunately, I want to kill him for saying this. But Yi Bai stopped when he saw the reward, and he continued, I never judge the guests I interview. Close corner bracket. I just let everyone understand them objectively through interviews. But I still think that to know who a person is, you have to look at what he does, not what he says. Okay, that's it for today's interview. Thank you for your support. Before I leave, let me tell you a little secret. The Quincy of the Star Cross Knights hold the secret weapon to capture the swastika. After saying that, Yi Bai disappeared, and the live broadcast room that shrouded Aizen's room also disappeared. But Yamamoto Genryusai did not take action immediately because he was still shocked by Yi Bai's last words. The Quincy can seize the swastika. How is this possible? In this case, wouldn't it be like having two hands tied when fighting against them? The captains also changed their expressions when they heard the news. Swastika. Is the solution so unreliable? Sure enough, the power of the body is the most trustworthy. Kusaka Yakiryu said, what AGN said is great. Niryuri couldn't help complaining about the two idiots, and said, the Quincy's ability can forcibly decompose and absorb the material composed of spiritual particles. Their method of seizing the swastika may have been developed from this ability. This is scary, but not necessarily unsolvable. Urahara Kazuki said, you are right. Ni Yuli snorted coldly, why do you, a fugitive, have the nerve to stand here openly? Why do you want to go back to the technology patent office? Urahara Kazuki clicked his hat. No, I came here because I have an account to settle with Aizen. Hearing this, all the Shinigami turned their attention to Aizen. But Aizen looked at Yamamoto Genryusai and said, originally, I wanted to make a big fuss, but I don't want to anymore. Yamamoto Genryusai said coldly, what do you mean? Aizen said, Yuwatch and the Quincy intend to destroy the three realms, which naturally includes Soul Society and Hueco Mundo. And coincidentally, I was in the Hueco Mundo that I unified before. If I fight with you here now, it's nothing more than making a wedding dress for him. Aizen unified Hueco Mundo. Is this guy so scary before he got the Bengyoku? The Shinigami made a noise. Yamamoto Genryusai, do you think I will let you go like this? Aizen laughed and said, since you already know about the mirror, how can you be sure that it is me you see now? How do you determine whether the sword you are swinging is aimed at me or another god of death? Yamamoto Genryusai, I won't give you the chance to show off. Aizen took off his glasses, wiped his hands, combed his hair into a slicked back style, and said with a smile, diaresis open corner bracket diaresis open corner bracket when did you get the illusion that I didn't use the flowers through the looking glass? At this time Kurosaki Ichigo said, you are useless, because I don't have the mirror, I can see it. Aizen smiled and said, how about giving it a try? But Yamamoto Genryusai did not speak. He thought for a long time and finally said, Aizen, you have committed countless crimes against Soul Society. But you are right, if we fight now, it will only give Yuwatch an advantage. Facing Yuwatch, the most evil existence in history, I can let you go for the time being. But your sins will not disappear because of this. After everything is over, I will definitely clear away your sins. You must know that even after Aizen was arrested, Soul Society still did not sentence him to death. Because he is very useful. Now, Yamamoto Genryusai also feels the same way. When he is about to face Yuwatch, Aizen is very useful. Then you can save his life. The enemy of the enemy may not be a friend, but he can be used. As for Aizen, I'm sorry, but he, Yamamoto Genryusai, is not a good person either. He was also a feared murderer. There were many such villains in the 13th division. But they are useful. In Yamamoto Genryusai's view, Aizen's greatest evil is his intention to subvert the existing Soul Society order. Kurosaki Ichigo was anxious. Aizen. Don't even think about leaving, give Lucia back. Aizen said. Rukia received a mysterious gift from the host. I will not kill her. If I take off the Bengyu, I will send her back. This face was sold to Yi Bai. Even if Yi Bai said so, he would not even take all the Bengyu. Because he saw in Yi Bai the hope of transcending the universe. At this time, a black gap appeared in the sky. The Daxu once again tore apart the barrier of the Soul Society and took Aizen away with the anti-membrane. Aizen looked at all the Shinigami and said, we have different paths and we don't want to conspire against each other. I never think that someone should be born standing in the sky. I will definitely drag them down. Let's wait and see, Captain Yamamoto. Zai Palace. Everyone welcomed Aizen's return. Ichimaru Jin said, it's really amazing to escape so easily. You are worthy of Captain Aizen. Aizen said, this does not depend on me, but on Yuwatch. Captain Yamamoto must also be able to see that he will not be able to do anything in the future. Can stop Yuwatch. And since I failed, Hueco Mundo must have also been defeated by Yuwatch. The Great Hollows instantly felt despised. But they still had an impression of the Quincy. Speaking of which, the Quincy was more ruthless to the Hollows than the God of Death. The God of Death purified the Hollows, but the Quincy directly destroyed the Hollows. Byler Gang said, this is impossible. Aizen looked at him and smiled. It seems that you still haven't learned to accept failure. Hearing this, Balagang broke out in a cold sweat. This was Aizen beating himself up. He lowered his head and said nothing. Seeing that his goal was achieved, Aizen withdrew his gaze and said, if Captain Lien Yamamoto even if they can't stop Yuwatch, Zai Palace without me can't stop him even more. The Daxu people were silent. After all, they had heard about Yamamoto Genryusai's swastika in the interview before. It was indeed unimaginably strong. Such people have failed. It is normal for Hueco Mundo to be unable to stop Habak. Well. But this time is different, the future has changed, we have Lord Aizen, he will lead us to victory. In a simple sentence, Aizen once again consolidated his 640 status and then 640 walked towards Kuchiki Lu. Kia, Lucia couldn't help but take a few steps back. Don't be afraid, I'll take you back right away. Everyone was stunned. Aizen worked so hard to catch Lucia and Bengyu. How could he let him go so easily? Lucia was also stunned, and a huge surprise enveloped her. And then he couldn't believe it. Why was Aizen suddenly so easy to talk to? Aizen looked at his subordinates and said, I just thought about the topic of fate again. In the original future, I got Bengyu, but I still failed. It shows that falling jade cannot bring me victory. The host said that fate can be broken, but it is very difficult to break it. I want to try. So let's start by giving up Bengyu. Since it can't bring me victory, what's the point of using it? At least, from this moment on, I have broken my fate. He hates his destined fate extremely. Dongxian said in surprise, if this is the case, how to make other Daxu Arankar? Aizen said, then let's change our thinking and see how we can do this without Bengyu. Hiriko Mako and the others were able to successfully control the hollow, which meant that even without Bengyu, they should be able to do it. Although these people were Aizen's experiments with Bengyu at the beginning, they did not reach this stage at that time. This shows that it is possible to do it without Bengyu. Of course it is difficult. But just like hosting people say that it is difficult to break destiny, very difficult. Then Aizen said to Rukia, I am curious about the mysterious gift you got. Lucia said, you want it? Aizen shook his head, I'm just curious. Lucia stretched out her fist and then opened it. There was a Q version villain model in her palm. Although it is only a two-headed villain, anyone who sees it will know that it is Rukia. Aizen was very surprised. I've seen it in the real world. It seems to be a handicraft. Is there anything special about this little doll? Rukia remained silent. Aizen smiled again, stopped asking, and then sent Rukia back to Soul Society, and Yi Bai withdrew his gaze. As soon as he returned to the real world, he immediately began to observe the world of death. Because he is also curious about what will happen after he leaves. As a result, Aizen didn't start a fight with Yamamoto Genryusai after all his talk, and Aizen even released Rukia directly. In order to change his destiny, he really worked hard. It seems that he is really not willing to be at the mercy of fate. Then Yi Bai's eyes fell on Kuchiki Rukia's figure. There were systematic markings on it. Rukia Kuchiki's figure contains magical power that can protect Rukia Kuchiki's life. This guy in the system treats Lucia well. Is it possible that he is a fan of Lucia? But it's good. After all, he doesn't want to see Lucia die accidentally because of his intervention. Then he turned his gaze, put it on your own panel. Host. Yi Bai. Activity level of this live broadcast, 100%. Activity level 90%. Reward, King Game can be collected. Activity level 100%. Additional reward, Supreme 1000 techniques can be collected. Worlds that can be visited. Marvel Universe, observable. Naruto, observable. Black Robe Picket, observable. Bleach, observable. Complete an interview to unlock a new world. The game series, Genshin Impact, close double angle bracket. Already have the abilities, sea-level telekinesis, space jumping, truth or dare, 100% empty-handed attack. Ah. King's Game. Is it the King's Game one? No. Yi Bai clicked on the introduction to King's Game. A poker game in which participants can be designated to participate. No matter who the participant is or where they are, they must attend the appointment to participate in the game. The person who draws the king can order the two numbers to do anything at will, and the participants must not violate it. Note. You can't whisper or kill. It is indeed very similar to the King's Game 1. No. But the most different thing is that you can designate participants to participate. No matter who the participants are or where they are, they will definitely attend the appointment. Does this mean that even if they are people from other universes, I can also summon them to play cards together through the King Game? Ah, this game skill is becoming more and more unreasonable, but it feels inexplicably powerful when used. Yi Bai sees. If you go to the Supreme 1000 techniques, you will definitely get the cards you want. This is a perfect match for the King's Game. Doesn't this force me to play Qian? Then Yi Bai focused on what he got. On the gift interface, Yi Bai saw that the star gods of the Star Iron world were the ones giving the most rewards. After all, these guys were strong enough and had a lot of good things in their hands. Yi Bai's eyes fell on the Kunhu star. There is a systematic introduction on the star hammer rewarded by the god Kripper. The star hammer is a weapon made by the guardian star god Kripper. It is powered by 3 burning stars, and its power is far beyond the ordinary. Envoy. Note 1. You can only use your full strength in the Star Iron world. Note 2. In a world with similar rules, it can exert a certain power. Note 3. In most worlds, the power cannot be exerted due to different laws. Then Yi Bai looked at the soul gem again. Mind Stone. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you can exert power and control the mind at will. Note. Marvel Cinematic Universe only. Except for Iron Man's steel suit, most of the rewards are only valid in this universe. Even the iron suit can take effect in every universe now. Does this mean that some basic physical laws are the same in every universe? Yi Bai understood it in his heart and felt it was reasonable. After all, in the Time Management Bureau, they have drawers full of infinite gems. If that thing leaves its own universe, it is indeed useless. But that doesn't mean these gifts are useless. They will come in handy when you go to these universes. In comparison, it is still the ability given by the system. It can take effect no matter which universe it is in, and it can even take effect across universes. But, what use can something like a star core be used for? It's not like I can't figure out a girl. Shaw National Academy of Sciences. Several experts studying controllable nuclear fusion gathered together. The person who summoned these people was Mr. Lee. He is a national treasure in this industry and is usually under strict protection. When he got up this morning, he inexplicably found an extra box on the bedside. There was also a note on it, controllable and stable cold fusion device. This shocked the security personnel into a cold sweat. That device now sits in the laboratory in front of me. Someone asked, "Old Lee, do you really believe that this is a stable, controllable cold fusion device?" Old Lee shook his head and said, "Not sure. But we have taken the most complete defense and have tested it before. Pretty decent, and no danger found. It's always good to try." Then the device was started inside, and the experts looked nervously at the display screen in front of them that recorded the data changes. Fusion reaction detected. Confirm reaction chamber plasma operation. Running well. Stability test. Good stability. One item of data passed by quickly, and the expert group's eyes were, earthquake. An expert lost his voice and said, "Is it true? Cold fusion can really be realized. That's cold fusion. It's even more difficult than controllable nuclear fusion, but it just happened. Or a miniaturized one." Some people couldn't help but ask, "What is going on? Where did this thing come from?" Mr. Lee said, "What I am going to say below are all top secrets. If you want to listen, you need to sign a confidentiality agreement." Everyone started talking. Nod. Mr. Lee said, "Not long ago, our lunar rover on the moon discovered a palace. It's said to be a palace, as if someone carved it out of stone. It also has the words, Guanghan Palace, engraved on it, which is the simplified Chinese characters. Outside the palace gate, there are 2 red flags. Putting a red flag outside Guanghan Palace in simplified Chinese. The experts were all stunned. What is this? Mr. Lee said, "The relevant expert group has been established. They speculate that there are aliens. For the time being, let's look at the impact of aliens on Sha Kingdom. Very friendly. This thing may have been given to us by aliens. We don't have to worry about aliens. Our job is to reverse engineer this cold fusion device. Of course aliens do not exist. This cold fusion device is the reactor of the steel suit. After Yi Bai dismantled it, he gave it to the Academy of Sciences for research. These days, he is tired of running around the world, and he is going to his focuses on those fantasy worlds, and he is not planning to do big things in the real world for the time being. But he is very willing to help the country develop science and technology. Anyway, he doesn't really need a steel suit, just those rewards. Most of them have lost their magic in the real world. Even in their original world, Yi Bai is useless if he holds them, and they are still dangerous, such as the star core. But even so, Yi Bai is very satisfied. After all, the system did not split these things 50 to 50 with him, but gave them all to him. Next, Yi Bai shipped a batch of gold as usual, tested the ability of King Game, and released another interview preview. His target is Funina, the water goddess in the original God world. He has never limited his interviews to villains. He interviewed them first because they have distinct personalities and weird things, so it is easier to gain activity in Yi Bai. It seems that Funina's story is exciting enough and she should be able to get enough activity. Teyvat Continent, Fontaine. Funina was a little anxious and asked Villette, "What on earth is this?" Villette also looked at the interview preview in front of him. He frowned and answered honestly, "I don't know. It's a bit like Sumeru's Void, but we're not wearing Akasha terminals. It's not like the grass god from Zumi suddenly expanded his power to Fengdan." "Ah, are you worried?" Funina raised her hand, put it on her chin, coughed twice, and cleared her throat. "Of course not. I am the water god Fukulos. What is there in this world that I should worry about?" Navalette nodded, fell into deep thought again, and murmured, "I can't feel any elemental power at all. It doesn't seem to be a product of Teyvat. Something foreign." Funina didn't hear what he said, but went straight back to her bedroom. She closed the curtains, and then trembled a little. What is going on? Why would anyone come to interview me? And it's so mysterious that Villette can't figure it out. Could it be that someone knows that I am not the real water god and wants to expose me? But if my identity is exposed, what should Fontaine do? What do I do? Who can tell me what should I do? But not long after, Funina cheered up and stopped shaking. She said to the mirror, "It's okay, Funina, you must be fine. No one can recognize that I am not the water god. Yes, I am the demon god Fukulos, and I am the water god." At this time, a maid's voice sounded from outside. "Lady Funina, today's trial is about to begin." Funina opened the curtains, as if she had turned back into the heartless water goddess Funina. She said with an exaggerated smile, "Let's go. Let's see if Villette can give us a wonderful performance in this trial." No matter how worried or scared you are, she would never miss a single trial, because she was afraid that every time she missed one, she would be the one she had to wait for. It's just that she has been waiting for a long time, it's really too long. Sumeru. Jingshan Palace. Nisita, the little grass god, also looked at this piece of information and frowned slightly. Invading the void by unknown means without leaving any trace at all. Who can do this? The water god Fukulos has heard her name for a long time, and heard that she acted exaggeratedly. Could it be that she did it? What a powerful god. Did she want to show Quan Teyvat how successful Fontaine was that she governed? Then I have to study hard. I have to become stronger and smarter so that Zumi can become better. Mond. Wendy stopped playing and sighed. Mond has just experienced so much turmoil, and this inexplicable thing happened again. Can't you just let me take it easy? Tevalin under him said. Barbados, you are free enough. This doesn't look like something created by elemental power. Don't you want to go to Fontaine to find out? Wendy took out a bottle of cider and took a sip. No. Liu. Having just solved the crisis brought by the young master, Yingmei and Paimeng knew Zhongli's identity, and then they went to listen to the show and drink tea with Zhongli. Yingmei took a sip of tea and said, "Are you really retiring? Are you relieved?" Zhongli nodded. "Yes. Today Liu has shown me that even without me, you can live a good life. When children grow up, they always have to let go." Huh. At this moment, the same interview preview appeared in front of the three of them. Yingmei opened her hand, and the edgeless sword fell into her hand, and she began to gather elemental power. Zhongli held his chin and said, "It doesn't look like an enemy attack. And I didn't feel the existence of elemental power at all." Then he stretched out his hand to touch it, and his hand went directly through it without feeling anything at all. Paimon covered his mouth in surprise. "It's not elemental power. Could it be ghost? 9,990,90. Zhongli shook his head and said, "The ghosts that most people think of are actually the disordered flow of earth veins. This is obviously not the case. It's amazing, you can achieve this level without using elemental power." Yingmei finally breathed a sigh of relief and put away the sword in her hand. "What on earth is this?" Zhongli said, "I heard that Fengdan's water god acted exaggeratedly. This is very similar to what she can do. But this kind of thing is not like the stuff from Teyvat. Yingmei's eyes widened. You mean, from outside Teyvat? Zhongli nodded, his expression becoming a little solemn. He has lived long enough to know what it means if something outside this world appears in this world. Is Teyvat going to be in chaos again? Rice wife. The Pure Land of Thunder movies. Ying, who was meditating, opened his eyes and looked at the interview trailer that appeared in front of him. It's too arrogant to actually appear directly in the Pure Land of One Heart, isn't it? She pulled out the sword fiercely and slashed out, as fast as lightning, and the message was like thunder. The light of the sword passed by, and the interview preview remained motionless. Yingwei frowned. It's as if it doesn't exist in this world at all, any perception and information are gone. No. But if it really doesn't exist, why can I see it? How did I see something that didn't exist? Could it be that I meditated for too long and had hallucinations? It shouldn't be, for me, it's not a long time. Then, she took control of the body of General Thunder and Lightning and went to see the Eightfold Divine Sun. The Eightfold Divine Sun said, "It's a rare visitor. It's rare for you to go out today." Ying said, "You know it's me." "Sure enough, this thing also appeared in front of you." Ye Shenzi smiled and said, "How could I not recognize you? I think it's not just us, but everyone in Teyvat should have seen this." Ying said, "How is this possible?" Ye Shenzi smiled. "Do you read what is written above? He wants to interview, and to interview, he naturally needs an audience. Can we, the audience, satisfy him that he can do such an incredible thing?" Ying thought it made sense, and she said again, "Who could have done this?" Ye Shenzi's face darkened slightly. "You should have the answer in your heart." Lei Qianqun closed his eyes. Outside the world. Not only gods, but almost all holders of the Eye of God and ability users in this world saw this message, which caused quite a stir. At this moment, Yi Bai had quietly arrived in the world of Teyvat. Yi Bai discovered that there was no need to finish the interview. As long as the interview preview was released, he could enter the world. He entered this world to do a test. If the test failed, he would come back for an interview after a while. Yi Bai said, "Let's start, King's Game. Participants are invited to enter." As soon as he finished speaking, a table, 12 chairs, and a playing card appeared in front of Yi Bai. These are all the skills that come with King's Game. In other words, this game can accommodate up to 12 people. According to the introduction of the game, Yi Bai is invincible during the game. He has tried it before and it was not a big problem. Then, a figure flashed across the sky and sat directly on the chair. It was a girl with white hair and golden eyes, wearing gorgeous clothes and a cloak. The inside of the cloak looked like a bright red starry sky. There are countless black and red squares flashing on the left arm. The whole person looked full of divinity and extremely noble. That is the goddess who appeared at the beginning of Genshin Impact, one of the 4 rulers under the law of heaven, the ruler of space Asmodeus. Originally, Yi Bai was not sure that she was the ruler of space, but in this King's Game, one of the participants he designated was Asmode. This allowed Yi Bai to confirm her identity. Asmodeus was extremely horrified. For some unknown reason, an inexplicable force suddenly appeared here. Her own strength has been completely suppressed. Now she is no different from an ordinary person. And he was pressed firmly on the chair, unable to get up at all. She couldn't imagine what power this was. Even the laws of heaven can't do it. Yi Bai smiled and said, don't worry, I'm not a bad person. I'm just a traveler passing by. If you have any questions, I will answer them when another distinguished guest arrives." At this time, there was a meteor-like brilliance sliding across the sky. The meteor fell towards Yi Bai, and then turned into an extremely beautiful woman. She was dressed luxuriously, looked gentle, and was full of motherhood. She also sat down on the chair. Yi Bai looked at her curiously. "So you are Tianli?" "Yes." Yi Bai invited the rulers of space and the laws of heaven this time. The laws of heaven did not struggle like Asmodeus because she tried. This power woke her up from her slumber and brought her here. She couldn't break free at all. She just looked at Yi Bai indifferently. "What do you want to do?" Yi Bai said, "Actually, I just want to stay in this world for a while. However, I need to make some preparations, and this requires your permission." Tianli said, "What will happen if we don't agree?" Yi Bai said, No, we will play until you agree. Yi Bai picked up the poker, shuffled it a few times and said, you should have the rules of the game in your mind. What about 3.8? Let's start. Tianli took a deep breath for 3.8 seconds and finally said, tell me, what do you want me to agree to? Yi Bai stated his request, and Tianli was furious. Absolutely impossible, you will destroy this world unless you kill me. Yi Bai shook his head and said, with me, it won't happen. I can guarantee that if anyone wants to destroy this world, I will kill him. After that, he took out the star hammer. Yi Bai asked the system before. In this world, star hammer can exert most of its power. In other words, the laws of the original God world and the star iron world are very similar. It looks like a golden eagle with a few gems on the hammer, but in the eyes of heaven, these are three blazing suns. This person made a star into a toy. Tianli looked at all this in disbelief, and finally said, I agree. If he didn't agree, this guy would probably smash Teyvat with a hammer. Yi Bai put away the hammer and said, then, let's continue the game. He used truth or dare. Since it didn't trigger truth or dare, what Tianli said was the truth. Tianli was furious. You don't keep your word. Yi Bai coughed lightly. I said, I need your consent. But I didn't say that you won't play the game if you agree. He also had some ball pains. Because he also needs to abide by the rules of the king's game, that is, at the beginning, and at least finish the game. He feels that the skills given by the system are very strange. It seems that it is above all rules and everyone must abide by it. Even if he strikes the star god with a sword now, the star god must kneel down and take the sword. But apart from sea-level telekinesis, these skills have no lethality. The adventure of truth or dare cannot hurt others, otherwise he would have asked the people of his motherland to give him a few laser eyes last time. The king's game is still the same. When playing the game, you can't be shy or hurt others. Is this system a pacifist one? With the supreme thousand skills, it is naturally impossible for Yi Bai to lose in the king's game. The ending of this game is that Asmodeus, the ruler of space, and Tianli, the two most noble beings in the world, dance together to the song subject 273 to the music provided by Yi Bai. There is no way, even if Yi Bai wants to see them dance the big pendulum, he is not allowed to do it. Does the big pendulum count as a thirst? What a broken skill. Sky Island. It's too much to bully others, it's really too much to bully others. Tianli was extremely angry. He was forced to dance such a vulgar dance even though he had agreed to his excessive request. It was really too much. But that man's power was too strong and he could easily detain himself. Playing with herself is too terrifying, and it is completely beyond her own knowledge. Even the few powerful people she has encountered are completely unable to compare with this person. She said to Asmode, during this period. Thanks a lot. Asmodeus said, the Lord's injury. Tianli gritted his teeth and said, if I hadn't been interrupted by this fool, I would have been fine soon. Now the time has to be extended. Asmodeus said, then do we really have to do what he says? Tianli was immediately discouraged. There's no way, that's a monster. I just hope that if one day the end of Tuawu comes, he will abide by his agreement. I will also see what he is going to do. After reading it, I will fall into deep sleep again. I will leave Teyvat to you these days. Momang Palace. There is no trial scheduled for Villette today, and Funina is also sitting here, looking as calm as an old dog, but inside she is panicking, because the interview was announced today. Finally, the time for the interview preview came, and Yi Bai walked out of the light door as usual. All the interview previews in this world have turned into live broadcast rooms, and the audience poured into the live broadcast rooms. Happy Star God, aha. It's started again, it's started again. Let's see who it is this time, using weird reasons to destroy the world. The last interview he released about Aizen also received a lot of attention. Some people even started to study the soul spirit pressure after seeing these videos. This made Aha very happy. Silly children, if you study like this, you are doomed to have no results in your life. What fun. Professor. I often see people in other universes wanting to destroy the world. Tired. Master Ancient One, how could they all be like that? It's just that the host didn't interview normal people. Iron Man, Aizen, are you still alive? Aizen, of course. Hawkeye, Good people don't live long. The disaster will last for thousands of years. Aizen, Captain Yamamoto and I are both mature men, and we know what is most important. After all, our most powerful enemy is Yhwach. Orochimaru. My research on genes. Another breakthrough, but I have a few issues. Wisdom Star God Doctor. Leave it to me, let me try. Many people looked on with envy. Through the communication between Dr. Shizen and Naruto World, the chakra technology of Naruto World was improving visibly to the naked eye. King of Angels Kesha. Hey, this little girl, is this the target of this interview? Seeing this comment, Funina couldn't help but said, who are you calling the little girl? Remember, the person standing in front of you is the water goddess Fukulos, the queen of Fontaine, all waters, all directions, all laws, one of the 7 earthly rulers, Fonina de Fontaine. Thunder god Thor. What a long title, is he a god from another universe? So young, are you an adult? Funina clenched her fists immediately. I am already 500 years old. Evil god Loki. For a god, you are really a minor. You are hiring child labor. Wendy. Yeah, I can talk on this one too. Yingmei. Is it really okay to talk on this? Wendy. So many people are saying, what can be wrong? Travelers, I heard that there was a little accident when you arrived in Liu. Are you alive? Yingmei. Little accident. Ah. Paimon. Is it true that such a mysterious item that has never been seen before can be touched casually? Lisa. You have already touched it, little cutie. It's been a long time, let's go back to Mondstadt for fun this time during the Windflower Festival. Ah. Paimon. Lisa is here too, long time no see. Kelly. Hello, sister honorary knight, Kelly can also talk on this. Wow, you don't have to write, the words come out by themselves. With this, you don't have to learn to write. These are people from Teyvat, right? 953 actually chatting here, there is no sense of crisis at all. 953 Navalet sighed for a while. It turned out to be an existence outside of Teyvat, and such a big fanfare and no concealment was so natural. He raised his head and looked in the direction of Sky Island. He wondered if a cold nail would hit him directly. However, he didn't see any unusual movement. Is Tenri still sleeping? Didn't you wake up to such a big movement? At this time, Yi Bai finally said, hello friends, it has been a few days since I last interviewed Mr. Aizen in the world of death. This time I came to the world called Teyvat. Hello friends from Teyvat. These viewers in the comment area are all from other universes. They are all friendly and you can feel free to communicate with them. This interface is just a live interview room, there is no danger at all, you can use it with confidence. Let me first introduce Teyvat to our friends from other universes. In this world there is a supreme ruler named Tianli, and under her, there are 5 consuls. They live in Sky Island. In the mortal world, 7 gods rule 7 kingdoms. They are called the 7 rulers of the earthly world. The one in front of you, Miss Funina, is the water goddess who rules the water country Fontaine. Now, let me start the interview. Ms. Funina, with her unique philosophy, governs Fontainebleau. People in Fontaine love trials, regard trials as operas, and pursue the drama in them. And Ms. Funina has never missed a trial. Ms. Funina, I would like to ask, why are you so passionate about trials? Although she still doubts that those viewers are people from other universes, if we only talk about interviews, Funina is battle-hardened. She coughed lightly and said, it's for justice. Treating everyone equally is the real justice. So I invited Mr. Navalet as the Grand Inquisitor, and made the Cardinal Decree as an assistant to free Fontaine's judicial system from the control of theocracy. Delegate divine power to the people, allowing them to adjudicate on all injustices. Even if one day I am the one who causes injustice. They can judge me too, judge a god. I like to watch the trial because I see justice. When the people of Fontaine heard what Funina said, they were all extremely excited. As expected of Lady Funina. Very well said, Lady Funina. In this world, there is no god who loves people as much as Lady Funina. Comment area. King of Angels Kesha. As a god, he delegates his divine power to the people. He regards himself as an ordinary person and accepts the constraints of the law. This is really good. Thunder god Thor. As a god, are you so humble? Even the old man can't do this. However, I feel like she just wants to watch a show. When Odin saw this, he was furious and wanted to blast his stupid son. Evil god Loki. Don't worry, I just want to watch a show. As a god with great power, he naturally regards humans as ants. Some people like to watch ants fight, and some people like to watch ant trials, but that's it. Happy star god aha. Is this how you understand gods? Boring, boring. The balanced star god said to each other. It seems that you also understand the concept of balance. Yi Bai smiled and said, it's a very interesting speech. I would like to hear what other gods think of you. Then Yi Bai opened the system interface and saw the guest invitation, and wanted to invite other gods in this way. But look at this place, there's not enough room for so many people. Then, why not play cards? So he launched the king's game again, and the next moment he saw Navalet's horrified eyes. The decoration here disappeared, a table appeared in the empty room, and 12 chairs appeared around it. Then, several figures appeared here and sat on the chairs. It's Wendy, Zhongli, Thunder Movie, Nisita, Traveler and Paimon. Tuaran. Barbados, where have you been? Ah, how did you get there? When did you achieve this level of spatial teleportation? Ye Shenzi's eyes widened. How is that possible? There was no elemental fluctuation and no warning, and a god was easily pulled from Dao Wife to Fontaine. Shadow didn't even make any resistance or warning. This is the power of outsiders. In Sumeru, the great sage had veins popping on his forehead. Is this true or false? Is that a lie? How could the grass god suddenly appear in Fontaine? The grass god is out of trouble. He was sweating. Thinking of what he had done to Nisita over the years, if he had been the grass god, he would have at least started by killing the 3 tribes. After thinking about this, he gritted his teeth, ran to the Jingshan Palace, and then opened the ban on the Jingshan Palace. Sure enough, he sat on the ground, and after a while, he suddenly got up, and then packed up his things. Run away. Sky Island. Tianli looked at this scene and snorted coldly. This guy really messed up and actually sent other gods to Fengdan. She remembered Yi Bai's request and finally remained silent. She wanted to see what this guy wanted to do. To Winter. The full executives sat together, and when they saw this scene, they finally couldn't hold it any longer. The doctor said, did you easily bring gods from other countries to Fontaine? This is the power of other universes. Stronger than ordinary descendants, I don't know how many levels. The servant said, since he can do such a thing, why were the Vulcan and the Queen not invited by him? All the executives were puzzled. The rich man said, is it because the Vulcan and the Queen are too powerful? The young master said, it's definitely not because of power. The traveler's power is far inferior to that of gods, but he was also invited. All the executives were silent. This descendant from other worlds does really weird things. This matter is actually not as complicated as they thought. It's just that Yi Bai doesn't have the videos of the other 2 gods and can't edit them, so naturally he didn't choose to invite them to do the interview together. Momang Palace. Yi Bai said, Diaresis open corner bracket let me introduce to you, this is the wind god Barbados, but he now calls himself Wendy. This is the rock god Morax, he now calls himself Zhongli. This is thunder god Shadow, and this is grass god Nisita. This is Traveler and her emergency food Paimon. Paimon jumped in anger. This is not emergency food. It's a partner. The comment area suddenly became lively, and the activity rate reached 30%. Kelly. Ah, that's the Bard brother. I saw that he was kicked out last time because he had no money to buy alcohol. Hutao. Ah. The guest is the Emperor. Ah. The Emperor is on top. Don't blame me. Ning Guang's eyes widened. Zhongli catching from the Hall of Purity is the Emperor. She has received a dream from Zhongli and knows that he is not dead yet, but will leave. So Ning Guang has already thought about it. A rhetoric announced to the people. But who would have thought that the Emperor would actually appear in front of everyone in this way? Kei Qing on her side even dropped the teacup in her hand to the ground. Ning Guang looked at Li Ma Jiao, her. What's wrong? Kei Qing swallowed her saliva. That's the guest from the Hall of Purity. Last time I saw him, he ate, without money. Morax has no money. What kind of hell joke is this? The room became extremely quiet for an instant, and the atmosphere became extremely awkward. In the screen, Wendy stretched. Is this how you invite others? Isn't it too rude? There is no way, I can't break free, it seems that even my strength has been sealed, then let's see what this person wants to do. Yi Bai sighed. If I send you an invitation letter, you won't come, right? Unless it's a cocktail party. Wendy's eyes lit up. Will you still hold a cocktail party? Ying watched Wendy calmly talking to this mysterious person, and couldn't help but admire her. As expected of the ancient wind god, so calm. At this time, Yi Bai said, by the way, Mr. Wendy, what do you mean to Funina? What do you think of Lady's trial? Wendy opened her mouth wide, and then looked at Yi Bai curiously. Since you know me so well, why would you ask me this question? Do you think I know how to govern a country? How can I comment on others if I don't even understand this? Yi Bai smiled. This really seemed like this guy's answer. When the people of Mondstadt saw this scene, they all had strange expressions on their faces. This guy, no, is this Lord Barbados? Don't tell me, it still looks like a statue. However, I saw him busking on the street yesterday and gave him 100 moras. If I had known better, I would have given him more. I also saw him being kicked out by his boss because he had no money for drinking. An awkward atmosphere began to spread. Someone else said, is there anything strange about this? This is how master function is, playing in the world. Yes. As Mondstadts, don't you know the deeds of Lord Barbados? Barbara looked at Wendy and felt that her CPU was burning. He is Lord Barbados. I once said such rude words to Lord Barbados. I'm not qualified to be a nun anymore. Lord Barbados, please forgive my rudeness. Captain Chin looked at his sister helplessly. He had no choice but to let Barbara know the truth about master function. He was like this. Just when Yi Bai thought that Wendy would just get through like this, he didn't expect that Wendy. Then he said, I think this dream method of returning divine power to the people is great. Because only they themselves know best what kind of life they want. The people of Mondstadt cheered with joy. As expected of Lord Barbados. Who said you can't govern the country? You gave us the greatest freedom. For freedom. Yi Bai smiled slightly and turned to look at Zhongli. Then what does Emperor Yanwang think? Zhongli is very depressed. I just faked my death and retired, and you dragged me out again. How can I retire now? This will make the people of Liu think that I have abandoned them. And in Liu, the people who saw this scene, they are very excited. We have known for a long time that the emperor has a long life, how could he be assassinated? I have long said that the emperor must still be alive. Then why did the emperor do this? The emperor must have his reasons for doing this. Looking at this scene, Ning Guang also felt a little nervous. Liu had just embarked on the path of human rule, would she have to go back to divine rule again? Finally Zhongli said, I have heard some rumors about Fengdan before, but now it seems that the rumors cannot be fully believed. Ms. Funina is not the flashy person I thought she was. You have lofty ideals. It's such a bold idea to let the people judge the gods. But it feels good. Then, Yi Bai looked at Lei Movie. I wonder what your excellency, general, has to say. Lei Qiancho was silent. What do I think? Do you want me to say that I built a robot to help me manage the entire rice wife? She didn't say anything, and Yi Bai didn't ask any questions. He looked at Nisida again and asked with a smile, Lord Grass God, what do you think? In Sumeru. All the Sumeru people saw this scene through the void. This was the first time for most of the Sumeru people to see their own gods. It turns out that the little lucky grass king is really very small. No wonder we need the help of the ecclesiastes to govern the country. Dina Zidai. Master Xiaosao God, it is indeed Mr. Xiaosao God. I just said, what I saw back then must have been Master Xiaosao. In the picture. Nisida said, my knowledge of Fontaine is only based on rumors. I heard that Fontaine is very prosperous. Since Ms. Funina focuses on the trial and can make the people of Fontaine live well, then it is naturally good. Just like date palm honey, since it's delicious, it doesn't matter what method the chef uses to make it. Of course she was in a bad mood after being forcibly controlled and transported to this place, but this was the first time she left the Jingshan Palace in her physical body and looked at the world with her naked eyes. This was enough to offset the dissatisfaction in her heart. Yi Bai was slightly startled. This. Sure enough, it was Nasida's wonderful metaphor. Then Yi Bai looked at the traveler. Dear viewers, this one is the one who single-handedly defeated the ancient wind dragon in Mondstadt and protected Mondstadt. In Liu, he fought with the ancient demon god Osil for 3 days and 3 nights, and finally the hero who protected Liu port, Traveler Ying. What do you think about this? Yingmei covered her face. This is really embarrassing. Are the rumors so outrageous now? What on earth does this guy want to do? By controlling us like this, does he just want to ask some questions? Paimon on the side hurriedly he waved his hand and said, don't look at me, I don't know, I haven't even been to Fontaine. Yi Bai looked at Funina and said with a smile, it seems that everyone thinks highly of your work. But even gods need to grow step by step. Let's take a look at the scene when Ms. Fonina appeared at the Opera for the first time. Yi Bai projected a screen. On the screen, Funina stood in her position and said, ahem. Ladies and gentlemen, you are very welcome to tonight's Opera. I believe you have heard about me inheriting the water goddess. Yes, I am Funina de Fontaine, your new water goddess. I have little experience in becoming a country's new god, but I feel honored to be able to guide you. At this time, the voices of the people came from the theater. This is the new water god. Could it be that the Privy Council is fooling us? As a god higher than humans, I thought he would be stronger. God should be omnipotent, but she is so humble. How is this different from ordinary people? I guess there may not be a new water god at all. It must be a puppet pushed up by the Privy Court. Voices of doubt rang out. Even the people of Fontaine are a little surprised now. It turns out that Lady Funina was like this in the past. She couldn't see the aura of the gods at all, and she was a little nervous. Is this stage fright? However, at this moment, Funina on the screen showed their familiar exaggerated smile. Yes, my people, only you like this are worthy of my rule, Funina. I was thinking, what if one day a cowardly puppet steps onto this stage and claims to be the owner of this opera house? Will the people of Fontaine also obey? Now it seems, very good, you are not that kind of boring guy, and you are qualified to witness those wonderful trials with me in this opera house. Zhongli couldn't help but cover his face. It seemed that he was about to retract his previous judgment. This guy is indeed a very flamboyant guy. Or maybe she just likes to watch the fun. Funina's language becomes more and more exaggerated. There is no problem in this world that cannot be solved by relying on judgment. As long as you, my people, you firmly believe in justice in your heart. As long as I am here at the Apécli Opera House and before this decree is given to the cardinal, I, the demon god Foucaulose, can judge even the gods in the world. She ended this speech with these passionate words. Then came the enthusiastic cheers of the people of Fontaine. Comments section. Evil god Loki. Haha, I was right. This is a lunatic who likes to watch trials. Even the gods want to judge, who does she think he is? King of the gods. King of angels Kesha. I have to say that trying to solve all problems by relying on trial is a bit extreme. Angels also often judge, so she knows very well that judgment can never solve all problems. Balance star god who. Judgment should only be a means, not an end. But you seem to be upside down, with judgment as the goal. You say you are the god of justice, not the god of judgment. Alas, impure. The gods at the scene were all silent. This scene was from 500 years ago, which is very magical, but with the host's method, it must be possible to extract the original scene from the Earth's veins. This is not why they are silent, but because of Funina's last speech. Judgment of the gods. In short, her mood was very subtle, and she didn't know what to say. After all, when she said this, several gods are not in front of her. Even if Billet is here, it can't give her much sense of security. After all, I am just an ordinary human being. If I anger them and let them take action against me, then the world will discover that I am not the real water god. Then there is no way to save Fontaine. You must act as the water god until that time comes. No, Funina, you must make yourself look more like a god. She just raised her hands and shrugged. I'm just telling the truth. I am the god of justice. As long as you violate justice, even if you are a god, I will judge you. This is too arrogant, and he immediately jumped in the face. Zhongli sighed. I remember that Egolia was not like this. How could his successor be so out of tune? A god who is so unconventional can actually manage Fontaine well. It seems that the supreme judge next to him should have contributed a lot. But the people in Fontaine outside made a fuss because of Fu Nina's words. Cheer. This is our water god. This is the justice of the water god. Justice will prevail in this world. Yi Bai also projected this scene into the live broadcast room. Fu Nina secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At least the people still believe that I am the water god. Yi Bai continued. From that day on, Ms. Fu Nina will definitely participate in every trial. Carrying out her justice. Looking forward to the trial in her heart. Screen switching. Fu Nina said to a subordinate, the trial I am looking forward to is grand, like a drama, a wonderful trial that can end everything. Hey, you don't understand even after I told you. The subordinate said, I can't guess the thoughts of the gods. The gods couldn't help but complain, I am a god, and I don't understand it. Yi Bai continued, besides, she is the most friendly god in the world. He looked at Wendy and Zhongli, her people are different from you. You are playing in the world as human beings. But she is friendly to the people as a god, and she meets a large number of ordinary people almost every day. In the picture, a middle-aged woman said, Ms. Fu Nina, I don't know what to say. Thank you for meeting me. Fu Nina smiled and said, no need to say thank you. You have to thank yourself for having the perseverance and finally waiting in line to see me. It seems that the charm I exude as a god has also caused trouble for everyone in some aspects. Okay, your name is Teotieri, right? How is your son's condition? The middle-aged woman cried with gratitude. You actually remember me. You also know my family affairs. I'm feeling better now. In fact, my son is your more loyal believer. He insisted on making trouble for me to come to see you and relay what you said to him. Fu Nina smiled and said, that's right, that's good. You can tell me in advance next time something like this happens. It's not impossible to occasionally make an exception and go to people's houses. Just treat it as a change of mood. At this time, the whole of Teyvat they were all stunned. The comment area immediately became lively. Ningguang, I have to say that Lady Fu Nina is really close to the people. No wonder she seems to act a little out of tune, but she is still loved by the people. The emperor also rules Liu and loves the world, but he only appears as a god once a year. There is always some distance between him and the people. This kind of personal visit to people's homes is absolutely impossible to happen. Luyun Jifeng Zhenjin. Huh. Gods have things that gods should do, and humans have things that humans should do. Maplehara Manyo. Can gods be so close to each other? Why aren't our gods like this? Coral Palace Shinhai. I can only say that even if we are gods, each one is a different individual. Our gods cannot see us. General Thunder and Lightning has always ignored their appeals, but other people's gods can visit civilians' homes. This gap is too big. Kujo Sharo. How presumptuous. You traitor, you still dare to speak nonsense and slander the general. Yi Bai smiled and said, from Ms. Fu Nina's past, we can see that although she has a way of doing things that others cannot understand, logic. But she is very friendly to the people and everyone likes her. But as a god, it's not enough just to be liked by everyone. In Fontaine, there is a prophecy that the sea is swallowing up our memories. Eventually, everyone will dissolve in the sea, leaving only the water god himself crying on the throne. Only then can the sins of the Fontaine people be washed away. I don't know how you deal with this prophecy, Ms. Fu Nina. How are you going to save the people of Fontaine? Hearing this, all the people in Fontaine outside looked at Fu Nina on the light screen. This prophecy has been circulating in Fontaine for a long time, and no one took it seriously at first. But now the sea level changes every year, the price has continued to rise, and the prophecy is coming true step by step. They want to know how Lady Fu Nina is going to deal with this matter. At this moment, Fu Nina felt a lot of fear in her heart. Investigation, but there was nothing useful at all. She didn't know how to deal with it, but she hid her inner fear very well, and just said with an exaggerated smile, it is really difficult for ordinary humans to deal with it. But I am the god of water, and I am the king who controls the water element. This is no problem for me at all. Don't worry, people of Fontaine, the prophecy will not come. Yes, it won't come. As long as I play the role of the water god, I will definitely be able to end the prophecy and save everyone. Funina, come on. You can do it. Applause rang out. Yi Bai applauded and said, it's sonorous and powerful, and it hits the ground. I believe you can save Fengdan, and in fact you did it. Everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Funina said, wait, you said I did it. Did you predict it? Yi Bai smiled and said, absolutely, you did a great job. I think you are a well-deserved water god. Yi Bai said it sounded so nice, but Funina was even more nervous. Because if Yi Bai really sees the future, he will definitely know that he is not the water god. Otherwise, he is just talking. Otherwise, he is mocking me. Fortunately, with 500 years of acting skills, Funina didn't show any abnormalities at this moment. At this time, Yi Bai looked at the screen and said, let us, 4, 4, 2, 3, 2, 3, and see what the grand trial that water god Funina is looking forward to in the future will look like, right? Funina's pupils shrank instantly. Wait, you tell me. You can let everyone see the future. Yi Bai nodded. Funina said loudly, no, absolutely not. But she remembered clearly that her reflection in the mirror said that she needed to act like a god as a human being and not be exposed. Everything will not end until that day, when that grand, dramatic trial comes. Only in this way can Fontaine be saved. But if someone had known about it in advance, all this would not have happened, and Fontaine would not have been saved. She thought quickly about the words. No, because if you let people see the future now, then the future trial will also lose the huge dramatic twist. Or it won't happen. Her voice was still exaggerated, but there was already a hint of pleading in her eyes. She believed that if Yi Bai really saw the future, he would understand what he was talking about. The comment area immediately became lively. People from the motherland. Coming. Coming. This is it. Expose the scandal, explode it. Seeing how flustered she is, her actions must not be as righteous as she says. She will definitely do many evil things in the future, let me see her ugly face. Why are we the only ones being exposed and not you? He hopes that Yi Bai will expose Funina's true face, and make her miserable and cast aside by the world. Evil god Loki. Ha ha ha, I'll just say it. The host has a very dark heart and takes pleasure in exposing people and watching people suffer. How could he interview such a sanctimonious god? There is indeed some dirty information. Uchiha Madara. Maybe it's just that her methods in the future will be a little more intense. But as long as she can save this country, I think it doesn't matter what means she uses. Unless everything was a lie, she never wanted to save this country. But it doesn't look like it. Aizen. That's not necessarily the case. I smelled the same kind of scent in this lady early on. I'm curious about what the real you would look like, Ms. Funina. Seeing these comments, Funina was really panicked. She said, no, absolutely not. Navalette, he broke into Momang Palace without permission. This was already breaking into an important office location. Moreover, what he was about to say violated my privacy, which is a serious crime. Arrest him now. A bitter smile appeared on Billet's face. If he could have stopped it, he would have stopped it long ago. Although he believed that he would not be weaker than the 7 gods now, he did not see that the 4 gods opposite him could only serve as hosts. Manipulating it. Even the usurper might not be able to suppress it. What's more important is that Funina is so panicked. Could it be that Billet has done something terrible in the future? He probably didn't know enough about Funina. Seeing Funina so panicked, even the people outside, the 4 gods here and the travelers were a little suspicious. Funina showed a rare gentle look in her eyes. Don't worry, everything you worry about is not a problem. If the follow-up issues had not been dealt with, why would Yi Bai come to interview Funina? This girl has persisted for 500 years, sitting in the opera house every day as if she was in jail, playing the role of a god as an ordinary person day after day, one life for Fontainebleau. If you destroy this future just for the sake of being active and then don't care about anything, that's really not a human being. Although Yi Bai felt that he was not a good person, he would never be a beast. But how could Funina believe Yi Bai? She gritted her teeth and thought, and suddenly her eyes fell on the chair in front of her. She remembered that Yi Bai had said before that this was a game of his, but the game hadn't started yet. Then, play a game with him and bet that he will not broadcast the future. As for the price, you can bet even if it is your own life. If you bet, you still have a chance to win. If you don't bet on Fontaine, it will be over and everyone will die. Then, at this moment, Yi Bai's voice sounded in her ears. Only she could hear this voice. This is Yi Bai's version of transmitting sound into the secret. The principle is very simple. It is to use your own mind power to vibrate Funina's eardrums so that she can hear her own voice. But with such a simple operation, not even the four gods and the Dragon King noticed it. Funina's face changed greatly at first, then she was doubtful, and finally she looked at Yi Bai. Her face relaxed, and finally stopping him. The screen is switched to 4.9. Funina and the traveler also saw Paimeng appearing at the Opalek Opera House on 4.9, and Funina looked confused. Lini then announced that the judgment of the gods would be held here. Funina refused, dismissively. At this time, Navalette said, I can understand that you refuse the trial. Then, you will have a chance to protect your reputation through a duel. Then Clolind, the agent of the duelist, came on stage. At this time, both the screen and the current audience are looking forward to it. No one is worried about what kind of power the gods have. But at this moment, Funina raised her hands, she surrendered. At this moment, both the comment section and the continent of Teyvat were in a state of shock. No matter how people felt about Funina before, no one in this world could accept the fact that a god actually surrendered to a mortal. To winter. A bunch of fools and a bunch of consuls, you look at me, I look at you, they don't know what to say. The rich man rubbed his brows and said, a god would actually surrender to his subordinate, a mortal. I doubt this picture of the future is fake. No one knows better than them how powerful the gods are. Is that Fontaine's dual agent so strong? Not so. The puppet said, is there a possibility that this water god is fake? The servant shook his head. No way, the water god must be the real water god. Lini is there, he will not make such a stupid mistake. Captain said, it's really hard for me to imagine that Fengdan's highest judge would judge gods. What will happen in the future is really curious. The doctor said, maybe this water god is actually a substitute, and the real water god is somewhere else. Having sliced a lot, he thought of this possibility. The servant frowned. If this water god 27 was a stand-in, 27 it meant that his intelligence work had failed. The clown said calmly, don't worry, you will know after reading it. Comment area. Clolind, it's so ridiculous. I will actually challenge Lord Funina to a duel in the future. How can this be? What exactly will happen in the future? Evil god Loki. Haha, isn't this water god a good guy? No wonder it looks pretentious. Leosley. The evil gods from other universes don't understand anything, so stop beeping. Maplehara Manyo, how could the gods surrender like humans? The power of the gods is so terrifying. That Wushang knife still frightened him to this day. Could it be that if they were both gods, the gap would be so big? Lady, trash, no matter how weak the wind god Barbados is, he still dares to take action against me. This water god doesn't even dare to take action, how can he still be called a god? Wendy couldn't help but touched her nose, could she also abduct me? Dillik. Executives of Winter's fools, pay attention to your tone. You looked pretty good when you were running away. Lady. You Mondstadts only have one mouth left. I was in order to send the heart of God back, do you think I am afraid of you? This is how the Mondstadt and Solstice people quarreled. Luyun Jifeng Zhenjin said, no matter how weak the gods are, their power is beyond the imagination of ordinary people. No matter how strong this dual agent is, Fukulos won't even have the courage to take action. The second generation of gods should not be so weak. Gan Yu, could it be that the water god is the type who is not good at frontal combat? Mandrill. No matter how good at fighting, the lower limit of the gods is still very high, and the faith of the Fontaine people is very stable. The power of the water gods cannot be weak. This is really ugly. Anyway, at this moment, Fulina has turned into a clown in the eyes of many people. Even the four gods and a dragon king at the scene looked at her strangely. The scene continues. Funding in the future now also encountered boos from the audience. My raising my hands does not mean that I surrender, but that I accept the trial. I'm definitely running away from something. I'm sorry everyone, I failed to protect the people of Baisong Town. I deserve to be judged. Navia, what do you mean? What happened to Baisong Town? She panicked. Can the water god be willing to accept the trial? What happened in Baisong Town? Did the prophecy come true? Then what happened to the people in Baisong Town? Navia's eyes darkened, but she suddenly thought of this. It's something that will happen in the future, and there is still a chance to make amends. Funina in the picture is as grandiose as ever. She spreads her hands and says passionately, cheer, cheer, in this theater, people don't even have fantasies. Dare to imagine the wonderful unfolding. She danced gracefully on the stage. This is a colorful and heart-stirring addition to the Fontaine stage. The trial of the god Fukulos is about to begin. Everyone was silent again. Evil god Loki, isn't it? She has said before that she hopes to be able to judge gods in her country. Is this really what she does? Eagle Eye, is it true that I am so crazy that I even judge myself? Captain of the United States, aren't these gods more normal? Iron Man, after all, gods and we are not the same species, so it would be abnormal for them to be the same as humans. But even so, the desire to judge oneself is really outrageous. Happy Star God, aha. This is really a wonderful development. But more interestingly, what is that face under your mask? Ha ha. The young girl at the scene sighed. Her future self has already arrived in Fontaine, but it seems that she hasn't found her brother yet. Sora, where are you? What are you doing? Then the trial begins. Everyone finally understood why the water god was being judged. Because Baisong Town suffered a disaster, most of the people have melted into the sea water, and the prophecy has happened. But at this time, Navalette and the others discovered that not only did the water god do nothing, but he also deliberately concealed some important things, so they planned this trial and wanted to find out. Now Villette and Clolin finally breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out to be because of this. We are not rebelling. Finally, the young girl in the picture stated the reason for judging Fu Nina. You are not a god at all, Fu Nina. At this time, the audience felt that their brains were going to explode. It is indeed a dramatic trial just like what the water god said, but why is it so unpredictable one after another? Wendy sighed. I seem to understand now why Ms. Funina likes to watch the trial. I also like to watch trials like this. Nisida nodded her head. Zhongli looked at Fu Nina and couldn't help but raised his chin. Lei Qianqing asked, Lord Morax, do you think Ms. Fu Nina is a god? Zhongli shook his head and said nothing. In the picture, in order to verify whether Funina is a real god, they wanted Funina to show the power of the water element. It's okay to show 603 a little bit. But Funina refused. She said all the power of the gods has been transformed into the law-compensating hybrid energy to provide the people of Fontaine with daily use. It is only because of the law-compensating hybrid energy that Fontaine develops so well. But everyone does not believe how great he is. So he is judged. Ting took out his trump card and hoped that Funina would touch the original fetal sea water that melted the people of Baisong Town. Villette said to Funina, this is just a unilateral claim made by the prosecution, you can reject. But Funina walked to the basin of the original womb sea water and pressed her hand into it. Then she said excitedly, look, my hand is still there. I am a real god, so I can't. What about ordinary people who dissolve? Her voice already had a hint of crying. But at this moment, no one believed her whether it was on the screen or in the real audience. Because the seawater has been diluted and poses little threat to the human body. But there will be evidence. That proves that she is a human being. Funina desperately defended herself on the stage, but everyone looked at her with cold eyes, even if she said, if I am really a human being. How dare I put my hand into that kind of seawater? No one wanted to believe her. At that moment, she was abandoned by the whole world and fell into the abyss of despair. The scene was frozen. Yi Bai said. In this way, the Oracle Cardinal announced that the water god. Death penalty. At this moment, the whole world seemed to be frozen by ice and snow, dead silent. It's shocking enough to judge gods, but they are also sentenced to death. Everyone finds it difficult to understand. Even from the perspective of trial, even if Funina is really not a god, this should not be the death penalty anyway. The Fontaine people couldn't even accept it. Impossible. Even if Lady Funina is really just a human, she shouldn't be like this. Could it be that someone modified the cardinal's ruling on the oracle? The only person who can do this is Master Navalet, but Master Navalet cannot do such a thing. That is the decree that the cardinal is broken. Otherwise, let's smash it. A group of people rushed to the opera. Villette stood up immediately. This is absolutely impossible. Even if Ms. Funina is really a human being, this is just a crime of deception at best and cannot be punished with the death penalty. There is no death penalty at all in Fontaine. In all these years, the cardinal's oracles and my judgments have never deviated to this extent. There is definitely something wrong, there is definitely an accident somewhere. Funina looked at Yi Bai in a panic, and Yi Bai's telepathic voice sounded, "Believe me, everything will end today. You will end 500 years of suffering, the people of Fontaine will be saved, and you can be yourself." Wendy sighed slightly and looked at Funina with complicated eyes. The wind brought the seeds of stories, and time made them sprout. As the 7 rulers of the world, he holds the power of the wind, and the wind will always bring enough stories. It was secretive enough, so the unobtrusive Wendy actually knew a lot of things. At this moment, he roughly guessed what the water god wanted to do. If it was what he thought, this lady was still respectable and terrible. Sigh. Mr. Zhang also looked thoughtful. As the oldest of the 7 rulers in the world, he also had a guess about why the water god did this. Then this Ms. Funina is really amazing. Lei Qianqun shook his head and said, "This trial is too ridiculous. Is this death penalty really carried out?" Yi Bai nodded and said, "Yes. It was executed. The water god is dead." Nisida asked, "Then Fengdan was saved?" Yi Bai nodded and said, "Yes, in order to save Fengdan, the water god sacrificed himself." The comment area exploded again. Evil god Loki, isn't it? You are so big. The people of the motherland. Impossible, he is really a good person. Impossible. There are no good people in this world. The balanced star god who? This is your justice, you have really implemented your own will. I said you were impure before, but you did not implement a balanced will. King of Angels Kesha. In order to implement your own ideas and save the world, you used yourself as a sacrifice. Madam, if so, you admire me. Happy star god, aha. Wow, is this your true face behind the mask? What an unexpected turn of events, so joyful. Thanos. If that's the case, with the blessing of that lofty ideal and will, even if she is just an ordinary person, how can she not be a god? If you can do what humans can't do, you are God. Iron Man. I take back what I said before, this is really beyond my understanding. Gods sacrificing themselves to save humanity. The last time I heard of this was Prometheus. Thor. Didn't I help save the world? Tsunade. I still don't understand. Why did Ms. Funina die? Why was Fontaine saved only after she died? See this speech, Yi Bai said. This is a very long story. For many in the world, this is difficult to understand. But in Teyvat, this is normal. Because the gods of Teyvat love humans deeply, even more than they love themselves. During the demon god war, even the lonely king of the tower who was called the tyrant still loved mankind in his own way. Another example is Mr. Zhongli in front of us. Zhongli shook his head and said, "The host is ridiculously praised. I'm afraid I can't afford it." Yi Bai laughed loudly. During the demon god war, in Liu at that time, the people were in dire straits. Mr. Zhongli summoned all the immortals at that time. It is said that before setting off for the expedition, you once said that in this world, demons and gods are rising together. Although I have no intention of competing, I know the suffering of the people. I just want to clean up the 4 directions and protect a corner of the floating world. You suppressed Osair in the sea, drove away the big snake Oribus, suppressed the evil devils in the mountains. You have countless achievements, and finally brought peace to Liu. Then, he has been guarding Liu, leading Liu's development, making Liu port the most prosperous port, and making Liu prosperous to this day. In the end, he even planned to fake his own death, hoping to retire after success and return all power to the people. Doesn't it deserve a great reputation? Is this not a lover? Mr. Zhang shook his head and said, I was lucky enough to win that year because of the help of all the immortal families. All the soldiers sacrificed themselves. How can I be credited? Liu. I don't know how many people heard this sentence, looked up at the sky, and burst into tears. It turns out that this is the emperor's deep meaning. The emperor wants to leave, not to abandon us, but to hand over all rights to us. Diaresis open corner bracket Diaresis open corner bracket How can we, mere mortals, deserve to be so loved by the emperor? Guardian star god creeper. Okay, not bad. I recognize your will to protect you. Extremely pure. At this time, Yi Bai looked at the screen, and he said to everyone, what exactly did the water god do? We will talk about it later. What everyone needs to understand is that the gods of Teyvat love humans deeply. If you can't understand this, you won't understand why the water god did what he did. You won't understand the greatness of Ms. Funina. Let's look at another god. Zumi's predecessor, the seven earthly rulers, King Daci Shu. In order to save the world tree and to save this world, he sacrificed himself. Then, as his successor, the little grass god Nasida was born. But those who received the teachings of the great sea tree king, gained countless knowledge, and claimed to be sages, because they disliked the new grass god's power as being too weak. Using the restraint left by the great sea tree king, imprisoned the little grass god Naxida in Jingshan Palace, Nuaoqianhao. Up to 500 years. In the past 500 years, she had grown up in the Jingshan Palace and had never seen the world with her own eyes. Today was the first time that she truly walked out of the Jingshan Palace. Then, Yi Bai looked at Yingmei and Paimon. In the original future, you would go to Zumi and save the grass god Nasida together with others. And in order to save Zumi, you saw the will left by the great merciful tree king. Who heard this? The people of Zumi were instantly furious. It turns out that some little grass god was young and couldn't manage Zumi well, so he entrusted everything to the teaching council and the great sage. This kind of thing is all over the place. It's your lie. You actually imprisoned the little grass god for 500 years. Even if she is not a god, but a little girl, this kind of thing is worse than a beast. The angry crowd rushed to the order house and surrounded it. The great sage who had just packed up and prepared to escape was also surrounded by both sides. Amid angry denunciations, the scene slowly unfolded. It was a world so beautiful that it was almost dreamy, with lavender lawns, lavender flowers, and a big lavender tree that covered the sky and the sun. Nasida Yingmei and Paimon came slowly, and at the end of the tree stood a person who looked exactly like Nasida. Through the conversation between the two, the audience knew that it was the great merciful tree king. They were in the consciousness space, so the two gods with the same essence showed the same appearance. Because the great mercy tree king is the incarnation of the world tree, and the little lucky grass king is the purest branch on the world tree. Happy star god aha, so this world tree is the aggregation of all the consciousnesses in this world. The conceptual tree also has the ontology of the tree, and I don't know if the tree of imaginary numbers also has its own ontology. If this is possible, then can we create a universe by breaking off the branches of the tree of imaginary numbers? Not a bad idea, haha, I will use this to deceive people next time. Iron Man. The consciousness of human beings, the consciousness of all living things, gathers in together they form a tree. Isn't this like the data disk of this planet? As the incarnation of the world tree, can the great merciful tree king rewrite the information of the world tree? If 610 could do it, it would be ridiculously powerful. King of Angels Kesha. I'm afraid it will be stronger than we thought. The information will not disappear, it will only become silent. If the great merciful tree king can rewrite the past information of world tree, he might be able to change the past. 610. It's really amazing. In the known universe, various civilizations are as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, but she has never seen anything like it. The laws of different universes can be so different. Professor. He remembered what it was like when he put on the helmet and perceived human consciousness around the world. Those constantly rushing thoughts, gathered together, are really like a big tree with lush branches and leaves. So, can I, who can control the consciousness of others, modify the data of the past world, as they said, in order to save this world and save mutants? The premise is that I want to find those silent consciousnesses and silent information. At the scene, Nahida couldn't calm down when she saw her future self and the great sea tree king who looked exactly like her. It turns out that this is how I was born. The Sumeru people still have many followers of the great charming tree king. Seeing the great charming tree king become like this, only the last bit of consciousness is left, and they are still giving encouragement and support to the little lucky grass king. Thinking about what the teaching council has done over the years, everyone is furious. The sages in the Order Academy, especially the subordinates of the great sage, knew this kind of thing directly, and all of them were chilling and trembling. For fear of being directly beaten to death by the people. The guards on one side could not give them a sense of security, because with the appearance of King Daisy Shu, even the guards who were loyal to them began to look at them differently. Even Paimon in the picture is complaining, now that I think about it, the vision of the sages of the order is really hopeless. Many people were immersed in the warm atmosphere. But finally the great merciful tree king talked about everything about the world tree. At the beginning, all the 7 gods except me were summoned to go to the country called Canria, but I had another more important task. That is to protect the world tree. The disaster came with the pollution of forbidden knowledge. Almost at the same time, my consciousness was connected to the world tree, and I noticed something strange. The mental pain began to torture me. When I rushed to the world tree, it had been eroded by forbidden knowledge. If I hadn't worked with the Red King to control the pollution of forbidden knowledge thousands of years ago, I would have been at a loss at that time. The world has become very quiet. And the high-level officials of this world, such as the Liu 7 Stars, the Westwind Knights, and the Fool Executives, are all quietly listening to the secrets and knowledge belonging to the gods. Some things really subvert their imagination. Some people she couldn't help but look up at the sky with worry. Would Tianli really not react if she said this in public? Tianli on Sky Island was watching this scene helplessly. She promised Yi Bai that she would not interfere. The most important thing is that she can't interfere at all. She just hopes that Yi Bai can really do what he said, otherwise, the world will be dangerous. However, with such a terrifying weapon and such a magical ability, he should be able to do it. At this time, Nisida asked the question that many people want to know. What is the forbidden knowledge? King Daisy Shu said, it is knowledge that does not belong to this world, and it is also the truth that cannot be understood. It comes from the abyss itself, even I cannot understand it. The world continues to reject it, and as a result, Yggdrasil has developed various bad symptoms. If forbidden knowledge is allowed to continue to pollute the world tree, I am afraid that the entire Teyvat will fall apart. Seeing this, Grass Dragon King Apep sighed. But he had to admit that forbidden knowledge was more difficult to deal with than he thought, or maybe he was tricked by the Red King. The Great Sea Tree King in the picture continued, I knew at that time that I could not expel the forbidden knowledge with my own strength alone. So I created a device that integrates human intelligence and named it Void. I have always believed that dreams are the crystallization of human wisdom. Although it is a bit selfish to do so, I still use the Void to borrow people's dreams. I integrate Sumeru's wisdom and contribute all my strength. In this way, almost all forbidden knowledge was cleared from the world tree. But things didn't go as smoothly as I thought. A headache gave me a bad premonition. I just remembered that my consciousness was connected to the world tree. The world tree brought me knowledge and wisdom, but the forbidden knowledge also found me. From the beginning, I have been tainted by forbidden knowledge. Nisida said, I have experienced that kind of pain in your consciousness. Isn't that uncomfortable? King Daisy Tree said, yes, but my feelings are not important. The most important thing is that even if I die, my existence and my past will still be preserved in the world tree as memories and knowledge. That forbidden knowledge can never be eradicated. And I can never eliminate myself, it's a paradox. So I broke off the purest branches of the world tree as my reincarnation and left clues. Just so that you can come here and completely erase the polluted me from the world tree. Nisida shook her head fiercely. No, this is wrong. King Daisy Shu smiled happily. You are really smart, you understand what that means. As you might think, the world tree stores all the knowledge and memories of this world. If I are erased from the world tree, it will be as if I have never been to this world. You are Bile, the god of wisdom. You know, this is the only way to save the world. At this moment, the entire live broadcast room and the entire Teyvat were so quiet that they seemed to have stopped breathing. The audience finally understood Yi Bai's words, God loves the world. They love this world and love this world, which is really better than love yourself too much. Captain America, It's unimaginable that gods would do this for human beings. Black Widow. It's not enough to give up your own life, you even completely give up your own existence and erase everything about yourself from this world. I finally understood what it means that God truly loves the world. God loves the world to care for them and do everything possible to protect them, instead of threatening them with all kinds of heaven and hell from time to time, threatening them with natural disasters, and finally saying, I love you. This is completely different from the God she understands. The same existence. Iron Man. Void. Use the wisdom of dreams. Is this a superhuman brain computer made using the redundant computing power of the human brain? Anyway, it's just for dreaming and how good it is for doing business. What a wonderful idea. Professor X. Use dreams and the computing power of the human brain to solve problems like a supercomputer. He suddenly felt like this was possible. This is much more reliable than what he had imagined before, using his own ability to find those consciousnesses that had been silenced in the past, so as to modify the past and change the reality. With his ability, he can definitely do this. To put it simply, control other people's dreams and let everyone in the world solve some technical and tactical problems in their dreams to fight against the Sentinel robots. This is not outrageous. There are too many inventions and creations in this world, and too many literary and artistic works are inspired by dreams. The dream is then deleted after they wake up, without revealing any information. No matter how powerful the Sentinel robot is, it can't compete with the wisdom of all mankind. It works, it absolutely works. If Professor. He won't hesitate anymore. Kesha, the King of Angels, King Daisy Tree, on behalf of the angel civilization, I would like to express my most sincere respect to King Daisy Tree. Your light is enough to illuminate the entire universe. Guardian Star God Creeper. I feel his protective will, it is extremely pure. Pharmacist of the Harvest Star God. There may be some small problems in their world, and they are sick. The host can let me go over and help them heal. Hunter Star Shenlin. Healing. The disaster is not bad yet, don't let this guy pass, he will destroy the world. Ye Shenzi. This is the disaster that happened 500 years ago. The source of everything was Canria, and the rice wife at that time also paid a huge price. Captain Chin. Which country doesn't? 500 in the dragon catastrophe years ago, Mondstadt lost almost all the guardians of the four winds. It is said that Liu's Qianyan army also suffered heavy losses, fortunately even the immortal Song. Before cursing Canria, you should see what the seven gods have done. The host was completely on the side of the seven gods and did not mention the seven gods' sins in destroying Canria at all. When Yingmei saw this, she hurriedly asked in the comment area, Kong. Is that you? Kong. Unfortunately, there was no response. Queen of the Solstice, King of the Great Merciful Tree. I have to admit that you are a perfect god, but just like this, you cannot completely save the world. Paimon. Queen of the Solstice. Is she really the Queen of Solstice? Is that the leader of fools, the leader of young men? Young Master. Excellent emergency food, watch your words. Stay humble in front of the Queen and don't talk nonsense. Paimon. Young Master, you are a bad guy. I am not afraid of you, just a little bit. The scene continued, and the audience saw the Great Merciful Tree King hugging Nasida, and Nasida cried bitterly and cleared everything about the Great Merciful Tree King from the World Tree. The Great Sea Tree King just disappeared into Nasida's arms. Her voice echoed in the world for the last time. Goodbye, people of Zumi, I wish you a sweet dream tonight. And the three of Nasida returned to reality. Nasida burst into tears. We just saved the World Tree, right? But why do I seem to be crying? At that moment, the whole Zumi burst into tears. The angry people rushed into the teaching court and beat up all the sages. Countless people were injured. Only when they were finally counted, it was discovered that the great sage was trampled to death by the crowd. Not only Zumi, I don't know how many people in Tiwat shed tears at this moment. Xiangling said, Wow, King Daisy Tree, she is doing well. I saw the little lucky grass king forgetting her existence. I felt uncomfortable and wanted to cry. Barbara. Master Daisy Shuwang, may you rest in peace. Kelly. Kelly doesn't understand, but Kelly feels a little uncomfortable and wants to cry. Alice. Don't cry, Kelly. Next time mom comes back, she will find you the cutest doo-doo to play with. Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi also wants to cry, but Chi-Chi is a zombie and has no tears. Record. Luyun Jifeng Zhenjin said. Best regards, the Great Compassion Tree King. Gan Yu. Bear congratulations, the Great Compassion Tree King. Ningguang. Respectfully send me the Great Compassion Tree King. Mandrill. Respectfully send me the Great Purple Tree. Rich man. But. King Daisy Tree died long ago. That is just a ray of consciousness left by him. Have you touched the wrong place? Yi Lan. What do you fools know? People will die twice. First, the first time was when her body died, and the second time was when no one remembered her anymore. Ha ha. No matter how much you flatter her, she won't be able to come back to life. Yi Bai said. Not necessarily. He was very happy because the activity level finally exceeded 60% and reached 73%. After hearing his words, the whole world became silent again. Nisida at the scene said in surprise, Your Excellency Yi Bai, can you resurrect the dead gods? Uchiha Madara. I was the host who resurrected the gods. Golden Riendot. Can such a thing be done? But resurrection, ordinary people and resurrected gods are two different concepts. If both can be done, that would be really amazing. Lei Qianshan and Nisida were extremely excited. The same was true for Zhongli and Wendy. They also thought of their old friends who had passed away, but their emotions quickly calmed down. There is stability in heaven and earth, and there is separation between life and death. If you resurrect the dead because of your own selfish desires, wouldn't that disturb the laws of heaven and earth? For your own selfishness, cholera affects the whole world, so don't do it. Yi Bai continued. After listening to the story of Mr. Zhongli and King Daisy Tree, everyone must have understood how gods love people. Next, there is a story about the water god. Ms. Funina, how about you say it yourself? Funina was already in tears. She looked at Yi Bai and gritted her teeth and said, Are your words really guaranteed? Yi Bai nodded and used telepathy to communicate. I promise you, you still don't believe it. Then do you want me to ask Heavenly Law to guarantee you? When I first came to this world, I had a chat with him. Every day, reason. Funina immediately covered her mouth. After being a god for 500 years, Funina still doesn't understand what Tianli means. This person can actually negotiate with Tianli. However, he can easily control the gods, even the gods can resurrection, then it's not strange to do such a thing, right? Even if I don't say it, I can't stop him from saying it. Funina sighed, looked at the screen, and said, About 500 years ago, I just said when I want to succeed to the position of water god. I saw another me in the mirror. She told me about the prophecy about Fontaine, and she said that the disaster would definitely happen and no one could escape. I was very scared because then everyone would die and I, as a Fontaine, would be dissolved. But the me in the mirror told me that there are miracles in this world. She told me a way that everyone can be saved. It's just that I might have to go through a little pain. I was really relieved at that time. It turned out that there was still hope. As long as I endure a little pain, I can save Fontaine, so I don't have to think about what to do. Tutu. The live broadcast room and the entire Teyvat fell silent, listening to Funina quietly telling her story. Is it a no-brainer to exchange one's own pain for Fengdan's survival? The Fontaine people looked at each other, and sure enough, even if Lady Funina was not a god, she was still a kind person. There must be something wrong with such a person being actually sentenced to death by the cardinal. Funina continued. The reflection in the mirror tells me that Fontaine has just lost its water god, and I need to play the new water god. I need to keep acting without anyone doubting my identity. If I can do it, she can fight the prophecy, but if I fail, it will be discovered that I am not the real water god. The last hope will disappear. Speaking of this, she looked at Yi Bai and said through gritted teeth, So why do you have to force me to say 040400? Just in case, just in case. Yi Bai smiled and said, You have done a good enough job. Believe in my promise, the tragedy predicted will never happen again. At this moment, the Fontaine people exploded. Is Lady Funina really not a god? But how did she live for 500 years? If she can live for 500 years, is she in the mirror the real water god? Hey, shouldn't you worry about other things? If we put it this way, We already know that Lady Funina is no longer the water goddess, so hasn't her plan in the mirror failed? This host, does he want to kill us all? But didn't the host also say that in the future it was the water god who sacrificed himself to save Fontaine? Does it really have to sacrifice Lady Funina? Or maybe he has a way to save us without sacrificing Lady Funina. Comment area. Evil god Loki. I smell the atmosphere of conspiracy. The girl in that mirror is probably the real water goddess. In doing so, she treated this stupid woman as a scapegoat. Thor. Shut up, Loki. Judging from the nature of the gods in this world, I don't think they would do such a thing. Evil god Loki. As expected, you are still the guy who only has muscles but no brains. We will wait and see. Funina could only choose to believe Yi Bai. She said, I was very worried at the time because it was too difficult to play the role of a god as a human without being exposed. But the me in the mirror tells me that I don't need to be a real god, I just need to act like a god in human imagination. I will not grow old while playing the role of a god, until the grand dramatic judgment comes and my playing is over. All can be saved. Then today came. Yi Bai sighed. Ms. Funina said it is very simple, but in fact, you may not imagine how difficult it is. Just like the first time she took the stage, her initial speech was so humble that some people began to doubt that she was not a god. She can only act, acting again and again, deceiving the world again and again. And for the fateful trial that would come at an unknown time, she never missed every trial because she was afraid of missing it. Navalette was very sensitive and heard what Yi Bai said about deceiving the world, not deceiving the world. So he had his own guess. The person who came to Fontaine was Foucault's himself. Funina should be with Funina. Carlos has a lot to do with it, but I don't know what it is exactly, and Foucault just wants to use Funina to deceive Tianli. Since the prophecy will come true, then I will act according to the prophecy. After all, Tianli's vision is. There are also blind spots. But if Funina is just an ordinary person, then her death will never be hidden from heaven. Then who will die in the future? Where is the real Foucault's? Why do you want to find me? What role do I play in it? And what should I do if the host cannot stop the prophecy? Then what should Fontaine do? Then Billette suddenly discovered that Fontaine was unknowingly in his own. It's so important in my eyes. Is this also your plan? The picture above started to change, and Funina said to his subordinates that the trial would definitely come. Up to this scene, everyone thought she was crazy, but now everyone understands why she said that. Then there was the scene of her meeting the lady named Dietyre, and then, Funina was exhausted again. She tried her best to investigate the prophecy and the sea water, but there was no result. Yi Bai said, originally, Funina naively thought that as long as she kept acting like this, everyone could be saved. But it's much harder than she thought. It is difficult for a person to do the same thing every day. And Funina not only has to do the same thing every day without making any mistakes, but she also has to wait for the judgment that she doesn't know when it will come. More importantly, she can't tell or talk to anyone. If it were in my situation, not to mention 500 years, but maybe a month, I would have gone crazy. There was a time when I wanted to cook for myself. I was very happy at first, but after cooking for half a month, I wanted to smash the pot. But Funina survived, but at what cost? The scene continued. Another trial report was handed over by a subordinate. Funina said anxiously, okay, I've seen it. There's no need to repeat the plot I've seen. The scene changed again. A somewhat familiar woman sat in front of Funina and said excitedly, Lady Funina, I can finally meet you sitting here. I have waited for this opportunity for too long. Funina played the role of a god as always. My loyal people, the happiness at this moment is the glory that belongs to you and me. The scene changed again. There was another woman who looked a bit like Dietyre. She said to Funina, Lady Funina, being able to talk to you at such a close distance is like a dream. 3.0 inches. I heard that the first person in our 3.0 family to have this honor and be received by you dates back 20 generations to Madame Theatieri. Funina laughed loudly. Yes, what an excellent family. It is really a pleasure for me to meet a devout believer like you or the descendant of a devout believer. The woman said, thank you very much, Lady Funina. Ah, Lady Funina. Funina didn't feel anything unusual. Ah, what's wrong? My loyal people. She didn't realize that she was performing like a god and tears were already flowing from her eyes. Are you crying? Haha, why didn't I notice it? It's probably because the water element in my body is too full. There's really nothing I can do about it. Who made me the god in charge of the water element? There she was, laughing and crying. Tears streaming down my face.